o'clock, folks. And now it's being recorded. I think we got enough people. We have a quorum. So I would like to call to order the meeting of the Centennial School District Budget Committee. It is Wednesday, April 23rd, 2026 at 6 p.m. And I will call for a motion to accept the agenda tonight.
And Budget Chair Harden, would you like me to project the agenda for everyone?
Oh, yeah, that'd be great since you're already sharing. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right. All those opposed? Okay, great. Let's get to business. Okay, so item 1.2, we need to elect a budget committee chair for this upcoming year, and I will open the floor for nominations.
Chair Harden, I nominate you to continue as our chair of the budget committee this year.
All right. Thank you. Any other nominations for chair? Okay, hearing none, we'll have a vote. All those in favor of Jess Harden continuing as the budget committee chair, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay. Hearing none, thank you for the vote of confidence. I will continue as the budget committee chair for this upcoming year. Okay, moving on to item 1.3, election of budget committee vice chair. I'll open the floor for nominations.
Chair Harden,
Uh-huh.
I nominate Michael Newman as vice chair of the budget committee.
All right. And I will nominate Karen Wolfgang for vice chair of the budget committee. All right. Any other nominations?
Oh, I'm just curious. Michael, are you super interested in vice chair?
Super interested? No, I'm not opposed either. So
Okay. Well, if you're willing, I mean, it'd be great to have it be, simple. I like having multiple candidates, but I have a lot on my plate. So if you're willing, I would love to kind of second your nomination. But I am willing, if needed, at some point. But I love that you're ready for it right now.
all right. Yeah, that's fine with me.
All right. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Michael. We'll take it to a vote. All those in favor of Michael Newman being elected as the vice chair of the budget committee, say aye.
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 All right. Congratulations, Michael Newman. You're the vice chair. Whee! Bravo. Thank you very much, everyone. Moving on to item 2.0 on the agenda, we have our 2026-2027 budget message. This will be coming from Superintendent Owens and Director Southerton.
All right. And thank you, Chair Harden. Can I get a thumb up if people can see the presentation? Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you for being here tonight and dedicating your time to this endeavor. and for your engagement with the Centennial School District budget process as we develop the budget for the 26-27 school year. The presentation that Director Southerton and I will provide tonight accompanies the proposed budget, which will be presented this evening and will be available on the district's website in the business services section. The actual executive summary from which this presentation is drawn is several pages in length, and we encourage you to read that after this meeting. This presentation will highlight some key points from that executive summary. As you can see, I will start with an overview of the budget. Then Director Southerton will walk through the development process of the draft budget. The proposed budget for 26-27 represents the financial and instructional goals set by the school board, budget committee members, staff, community, and our students. This budget maintains the district's instructional and operational structures while continuing to align resources to Roadmap 27. This presentation will focus on our current financial landscape, including revenue sources and anticipated expenses. In addition to outlining the changes in our financial condition, we will highlight how our fiscal priorities and the proposed budget align to Roadmap 27. Our commitment to maintaining strong academic programming and continuing to improve student outcomes remains a central focus as we navigate current financial conditions. As we enter the second year of the biennium, state funding levels are known, and we continue to plan based on those allocations. Prudent fiscal management in recent years has bolstered our ending fund balance, providing a foundation for stability as we navigate ongoing financial pressures. Like many districts across the state, the cost to maintain current services exceeds anticipated revenue. Careful stewardship of resources remains essential as we continue this work. Based on updated projections, Centennial has identified a budget gap of approximately $3.5 million, or approximately 4% of the general fund. The district has planned for a measured use of reserves to maintain continuity of services in the near term. At the same time, the gap between the current level of service and the cost to provide those services requires ongoing monitoring and long-term planning. Centennial's strategic plan was developed through a months-long process during the 2022-23 school year. The plan serves as a roadmap for our system, aligning stakeholders around shared priorities and a common direction for our work. As part of that process, the district commissioned an equity audit to better understand access, opportunity, and outcomes, and to identify areas for improvement. This work helped define our long-term goals and priorities, including our profile of a Centennial graduate, which outlines the knowledge and skills we want every student to develop. We will continue to highlight how the proposed budget supports Roadmap 27 throughout this presentation. The state school fund is the primary revenue source for schools in Oregon. It's funded on a 2-year cycle known as a biennium. As we enter the second year of the biennium, the state school fund allocation has been established. While this represents a 6.4% increase in the state school fund in 2026-27 overall, due to declining enrollment, Centennial can expect only a 4.3% increase in revenue. As I mentioned earlier, Centennial expenses continue to exceed revenues. Through thoughtful planning, as I mentioned before, the district has strengthened its ending fund balance, which provides us stability as we navigate current financial conditions while maintaining academic programming and student supports. Centennial has incorporated a planned fund balance spend down into its budget formula. This proposed budget reflects a continued effort to manage that gap responsibly. As previously mentioned, our key cost driver as an organization is personnel. Education by its nature is a people business, so naturally the majority of a district's expenses are incurred in compensating the people who work with and support our students on a daily basis. Ongoing increases in wages, benefits, and related costs continue to place upward pressure on the district's budget. Further, Centennial continues to serve a significant number of students who require specialized services, including out-of-district placements. To help manage these costs, the district insourced 3 classrooms, resulting in an estimated savings of $750,000. These efforts help manage costs through overall service needs, though overall service needs remain significant. Following years of declining enrollment and financial strain, the district faced significant funding challenges in 2020. In response, the Board of Education, in collaboration with the Budget Committee, established a fund balance policy during the 2020-21 school year to restore fiscal stability. Through strategic planning and asset management, the district strengthened its financial position over time. Now, after 5 years of focused efforts and collective support of the board, budget committee, and district staff, Centennial's reserves are stable and sufficient to navigate short-term funding uncertainties. Maintaining the stability requires continued diligence and responsible fiscal oversight. This speaks to the importance of sustainable budgeting practices over time. Now we'll shift into our budget overview. I'll address the first bullet, which is the budget priorities developed by the school board, budget committee, and administration. Director Southerton will take the subsequent topics, which include the current financial position of the district, our funding outlook, and our draft budget highlights. Our priorities are connected with Roadmap 27 and the priorities established by the Budget Committee. As we move through the next 2 slides, you'll see the full Roadmap 27 framework, including the 5 goals for student success and our 4 supporting pillars that guide our work. These priorities are reflected in how resources are allocated across the district. All relevant funding sources, including grants and Student Success Act funds, are aligned to support these priorities. Director Southerton will highlight specific examples of how these connections show up in the proposed budget during his portion of the presentation. On this slide, you'll see the 5 goals for student success, which are Goal 1, building a strong foundation pre-K to 3. Goal 2, supporting every student's well-being and inclusion. Goal 3, centering student voice, empowerment, and leadership. Goal 4, ensuring equitable access to high-quality academics. And Goal 5, preparing every student for their future. On this slide, you'll see the 4 pillars describing the capabilities we will develop to achieve these goals. I know there's a lot of words, but I'm focused on the colorful headers that are there. These are culturally responsive, student-centered teaching and learning, collaboration with families and community, professional learning, growth and wellness, and comprehensive systems of excellence. Finally, the Budget Committee further directed the administration to include the following priorities, which Director Southerton will speak to momentarily. And on the screen, you'll see that's maintaining community use of facilities after hours and weekend access to buildings and the newer gyms, and maintaining co-curricular activities, music, arts, clubs, athletics, and increasing opportunities to elevate student voice and leadership. With that, I'll pause for any questions before turning it over to Director Southerton to walk us through the district's current financial position.
All righty, thank you, James. I want, as usual, I want to make sure everyone here has the opportunity to ask a question. So I'll just kind of go through a roll call to see if anyone has questions. We'll start with Director Lynn. Did you have any questions?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Sequoia, did you have any questions?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen, did you have any questions?
Nope, not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Newman, do you have any questions?
No questions at this time.
Thank you. And Jeanette, did you have any questions?
No questions at this time.
Right, thank you. Rudy, did you have any questions?
No questions at this time.
All right. Director Shields, did you have any questions?
I'm good, thank you.
Director Solowski, did you have any questions?
No, thank you.
All right. Director Mooring, did you have any questions?
No, at this time, thank you.
Thank you. And Rod, did you have any questions?
Only a quick question to remember about the use of the facilities and to ask the administration whether they have set up programs, a healthy enough programs that it draws in people to that one thing that the budget committee pointed out when we met earlier.
Thank you, Director Betcher. I'll defer the question to Director Southerton.
Yeah, excellent question. Thank you so much. We've connected with numerous partners on use of facilities and continue to do so on a regular basis. I think the best example of that over the past year, and we hope will continue, is through EMOPI, through the City of Gresham and East County Partnerships. They work with numerous organizations, one of them being Play, Grow, Learn, and other organizations. And so we provided an inventory of spaces that are available, times that they were available at no cost because they were already staffed by the district and custodians. And we see good utilization of that. Just received a request today, as a matter of fact, for a basketball camp that's going to occur at the Patrick Lynch Gym, if it's approved, on May 9th and 10th, coming up next month. So absolutely, we continue to focus on that and providing those opportunities for communities and partners.
Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Thank you.
Thank you, Rod. I do not have any questions. So with that, we will continue on with the presentation.
Thank you, Chair Harden. When we'll have Director Southerton take it away.
Perfect. And if I can get a thumbs up that my screen is being displayed, that'd be great. Thank you so much. All right. We will jump into the presentation of the 2026-2027 proposed budget. Proposed because at this step, we are just presenting it to the committee. It is not being considered for approval this evening. I will be going over the general fund, major special funds, and short-term funds within the budget. So thinking about the budget as a composition of various activities, allowable uses, and funds, the general fund makes up the majority of the funding that the district receives, and it's the foundation or core for all district activities. Special funds are focused on specific activities or needs as identified by those funds and the source of those revenues. And then short-term funds are really focused or limited interventions. You can think about ESSER funds, which have now sunsetted, or some of our student investment account special targeted support grants that have a very limited duration. And I'll be reviewing these in greater detail in the coming slides. So the general fund providing the core or foundation support of all district activities. So general fund supports every single activity to some extent in the district that happens. It is largely a variable fund. It's based almost entirely on the average daily membership, otherwise known as ADM, or average daily enrollment, and a limited additional support for specific needs of students, such as students experiencing disabilities or students identified as English language learners. Combined, the membership and these additional weights for specialized circumstances are the ADMW, known as the ADMW, or average daily membership weighted. It's largely comprised of resources from local property taxes and the district state school fund formula allocation. The general fund, as I said previously, funds the majority of positions in the district. So if you think about our activities and the various wonderful staff members and the roles that they play in our district, this includes teachers, educational assistants or paraprofessionals, support staff, principals. It's focused not only on general education, but also special education, student wellness, co-curricular activities, training, professional development, operational activities such as bus drivers, custodians, maintenance, IT. And again, it provides the core programs that support all students. And as Superintendent Owen shared previously, it's not meeting the needs of our students. It's not sufficient to meet the needs of our students, and requires us to depend on special funds, grants, and savings or ending fund balance to continue services. The general fund resources that are expected for the next school year, 2026 to 2027, is based again on our forecasted weighted enrollment of 6,755. This represents 100 fewer students and 145 fewer weights than we have enrolled in the current year. That continues our declining enrollment that we've seen year over year in the district, and other districts in Oregon and indeed nationally have experienced. Speaking with several consultants over the past month, our declining enrollment, while being 100 students, is actually better than a lot of what our neighbors and regional districts are experiencing. It's largely driven by declining birth rates and other factors that are outside of the district's control. General fund revenue expected for next school year is forecasted at 84.95 million. And we have a bit of an updated forecast for this year at 82 million. That was previously shared at the work session as well, and it's largely based on a slightly higher amount on per student funding than was forecasted and expected. Major expenses for next year include increases of employee salary costs, otherwise known as roll-up costs. These are the costs of providing the same number of positions, having the same number of positions and the same number of services for next year that we have this year, just the increased cost for those positions, which include step increases for those that are eligible and cost of living adjustments, representing 2.17 million overall for the general fund alone. That's not inclusive of all funds, that's just the general fund. We're also seeing rising healthcare costs, and then PERS is a factor of salaries. So when salaries are increased, PERS costs are increased. Overall, the expected expenses for the general fund next year are 88.5 million, with revenue as previously shared of 84.95 million. This mismatch of expenses being greater than revenue results in a negative financial impact or deficit next year of just over 3.5 million. We are fortunate to have managed resources responsibly over recent years, which is allowing us to maintain current service levels and avoid drastic cuts such as those observed in neighboring districts through the use of ending fund balance. And this is part of our planned spend down of our fund balance, so it is in line with expectations that we've previously shared with the budget committee and with the board. However, as Superintendent Owens knows, and is widely known, deficits are not sustainable over time. They do compound and grow, so we do have to carefully manage this. And school districts across the state really need the state legislature to fund us at an adequate level that supports all students and supports what we see on an annual basis of increased cost to maintain current service levels. Hopefully, we will have some opportunities for some shared advocacy over the coming legislative session to receive adequate state school funding so that we don't have to have continued deficits nor reduce services in future years. Switching to the special funds, so these are in the budget book. We'll go through that in the coming slide here. They're on pages 60 through 115 of the budget book. These are sections 200 and 700 of the funds sections. These funds are restricted for specific purposes and allowable uses. So they are more restricted than the general fund. They are often for specific activities that are targeted for specific student groups, outcomes, or needs. They often have a specific timeline for utilization, such as an annual allocation or a biennium allocation. If we don't use them, they are then returned or expire. There's often limited carryover opportunities from year to year. So as I said, often known as use it or lose it funds. They support specialized programs and/or functions, such as the Classroom Improvement Fund, High School Success, otherwise known as Measure 98, the Student Success Act, or Student Investment Account. Title funds, debt service funds, and risk management funds are all examples of these special funds that are reserved for specific operations, uses, or needs. Our primary special revenue fund or grant, the largest recurring on an annual basis, individually is the Student Investment Account, part of the Student Success Act. The allocation for Centennial School District next year is anticipated to be $6.1 million. The Student Investment Account funds all activities around Centennial Virtual Academy to support students who prefer a non-traditional learning environment. It also funds a learning specialist position, several learning specialist positions, and numerous educational assistant positions for special classrooms. It supports assistant principals to provide support at targeted schools with high needs and high absenteeism and high enrollment. It also supports social workers and mental health supports, an additional counselor to improve ratios and address high need areas, updated curriculum to support instruction, and enhance co-curricular activities and student leadership activities at both Oliver and Centennial Middle School. It additionally also has a position supporting English language learners. Another major fund within the special revenue funds or special fund section is the High School Success or Measure 98 Act. Centennial expects to receive just under $2 million for next school year. This is a restricted grant fund supporting career and technical education programs, college level education opportunities, and dropout prevention. It funds numerous positions supporting those activities as listed here, and it also supports placements or slots spaces for Centennial or for CAL, the Center for Advanced Learning, which is the partnership with Gresham Barlow, Reynolds School District, and Centennial, which offers career tracks for students at the high school level. The Classroom Improvement Fund was approved by the school board in a previous year. It's funding dedicated to improving the learning spaces, classrooms and other spaces within Centennial schools where students spend the most time, investing in their learning environment and supporting a better learning environment, replacing furniture, improving facilities, improving lighting, flooring, cabinetry, etc. In the proposed budget, there is support or funding to do construction activities at Powellview Elementary School this summer. It will be improving 10 classrooms and the school media center with new windows, casework, flooring, cabinets, sinks, drinking faucets, as well as electrical upgrades for the building. This is a rendering of the previous summer's classroom improvement funds at Patrick Lynch, showing a music room and classrooms. This is now our standard setup for our elementary school classrooms, and improving the learning environment across all elementary schools is ultimately the goal. Title funds are another example. The final allocation is yet to be determined for 26-27. We do anticipate some minor reductions based on declining enrollment, but overall, at this point in time, we expect funding to remain fairly stable. Title generally funds many activities, but the largest being funding reading specialists as well. And then we do professional development for teachers, language instructions for English language learners, and enrichment programs. So SUN is partially funded through title funding. Short-term or focused intervention funds. We don't always have these in the budget, but we have in recent years examples of those that you'll see in the proposed budget are the Latino, AX, and Indigenous Student Success Plan grants, providing student and family classes, training in affinity spaces, student and community engagement specialist, and supporting family resource needs. We also received the Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Student Success Grant to increase culturally specific partnerships, providing student affinity spaces and leadership opportunities, and increase staff capacity and support for specific student groups. I'll now be calling out and highlighting the major financial changes from the 25-26 budget to the 26-27 budget. I'll also be sharing this presentation, so you'll be able to refer back to it as you turn through the different pages and look through the document in greater detail. The major financial changes that you'll observe in the proposed budget that the administration is proposing this evening are the previously discussed across the board cost of living increases and service steps. You'll find those throughout the budget in every salary and object code that are related to salaries and extra time. Across the board, 1.78 PERS reduction, you'll observe in the budget as well. You'll see that's highlighted and underlined. It's rare that we see a reduction. You'll recall, for those of you that previously served on the budget committee last year, that there was an anticipated 1.78 or nearly 2% increase in our PERS assessment and cost due to some welcome but late intervention by the legislative session. Last year, there was one-time action taken to not have that increase go through. Unfortunately, that legislative action occurred after the budget was already prepared. So the previous budget included that increase in it. Now we're just backing that out for this year. That is a one-time event. We have been advised that PERS will increase by 2 to 3% in the next biennium. It is dependent on performance of the fund, so that number has not been finalized, and we would again welcome intervention to hold harmless school districts should that funding shortage occur. You'll observe 3.0 FTE or 3 full-time position equivalents for those that are not familiar with the FTE acronym. At the elementary level, those are 3 additional general education teaching positions from the previous budget. That's on page 6. 1.5 additional positions at the high school level can be observed on page 9 of the budget document. 1.0 athletic trainer position in lieu of outsourcing or contracting those services can be observed on page 10 of the proposed budget. And then continuing some mid-year position additions that we made for special education. So with the savings from the PERS adjustment, the biggest identified need was additional support for special education. And so there were some mid-year positions added this year because we saved the PERS expenses, and those are observed on page 12 and 16. We're proposing continuing those for next school year as they are still needed, and we do have that savings from the PERS reduction. There are a transfer of some staff and software expenses between the general fund and now the summer learning grant. So you'll observe that financial change on page 21 of the proposed budget document. We are proposing to budget for continuing the long-range facilities planning, which is ongoing in the district and continuing into the next school year. You'll observe that increase in funding on page 39. We're also proposing continuing the mid-year FTE additions for student supervision. That's on page 41. There is a change in classification of the FTE, which results in a minor increase in financial costs, but an increase nonetheless from a classified position to a confidential position due to the change in responsibilities and that role specifically. That's observed on page 42. Utility and waste expenses are increasing, although not volume necessarily, just rate increases are the primary driver for that, and you'll observe that on page 43. We are also recognizing a 0.25 or 2 hour a day increase in the maintenance secretary position to reflect the hours worked on page 44, and the increase of specialized transportation costs for students experiencing one or more disabilities through the transportation department, providing those transportation activities. That's on page 49. We're also proposing continue the mid-year FTE addition in the human resources department to ensure timely processing of human resources operations and activities, functions and duties, as well as assist in recruitment and retainage. And a 0.4 FTE addition that was made to support online learning platforms through the IT department. That's on page 54. Last major financial change that you'll observe year over year within the budget is the addition through grant funding of 4 new preschool classrooms. So that's the Preschool for All program through Multnomah County. And so we're pleased to announce that we've received grant funds and award for opening additional preschool classrooms within the district. And you'll see those on page 79. Overall, the administration believes this is very much a student-focused budget that is supportive of Roadmap 27 and the established goals by the Budget Committee and the school board. We believe this is reflected through the 5 goals as listed: pre-K, classroom size of 15 to 18 students, kinder classroom size of an average of 20. This is an average across all classrooms in the district. So there are some that may be slightly higher and some that may be slightly lower, but this is the average for all kinder classrooms, pre-K classrooms, first grade, second grade, and third grade. We're pleased to report that the proposed budget is forecasted to result in fewer than 25 or fewer students at each grade level, pre-K through third. It also continues to support every student's well-being and inclusion through the continued social working programs, insourcing of BFLS classrooms, learning specialists, behavior specialists, educational assistants and paraprofessionals, assistant principals, professional development, and more. Continuing to center student voice, empowerment, and leadership by continuing to those previously expanded co-curricular activities, student leadership opportunities, focus groups and clubs, ensuring equitable access through stable class sizes, enhanced electives and updated curriculum, and preparing for every student's future by maintaining the professional development for highly skilled, highly supported educators, academic programming, CTE, and Centennial Virtual Academy. The proposed budget also preserves the funding at the middle school level to continue sports clubs and advisor funding, and continue access to our spaces and continue access to CTE programs is previously identified as priorities. The average class size across all elementary is forecasted to be 1 to 24. This is actual in the room general education classroom, K through 5 or pre-K through 5. It is not inclusive of music, library, PE, special education, and others. When you include those positions, the ratio would go even lower, but this is for the average contained general education classroom at the elementary school level. It's 24 students. At the middle school level, we have a ratio of student general education educators to students of 23 to 1, and at the high school level, it's 23.4 to 1 based on this proposed budget. We believe that the average class size at the middle school level then will be plus or minus 30, and the average class size at the high school would be plus or minus 32 based on this proposed budget. The proposed budget maintains all critical current services to students, continues leveraging grants and special funds to support students' mental health, learning specialists, special education supports, and smaller class sizes, and investments to close learning gaps. Continues as previously shared the co-curricular activities and student leadership activities that have been added in recent years, and it continues investments in improving teaching and learning environments for our staff and for our students. It does require a budget deficit or deficit spending of up to 3.55 million. It may be less, but it is up to 3.55 million in the proposed budget document. I do want to acknowledge appreciation to Betty LeGros, our long-serving, highly skilled, and wonderful Centennial School District budget analyst, as well as Calvin Delic, our Centennial School District accountant, and the entire business office team who worked tirelessly to create the proposed budget for your consideration this evening. And I welcome any questions you may have.
Okay. Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you very much. We will go through for questions, and then I'll kind of walk through the next steps in our process as a committee. But first off, we'll do some questions. I'll go in reverse order from last time. So we'll start off with Rob. Any questions, Rod Betcher?
You're muted, Rod.
There's so much information at this point. It's hard to go through the forest of trees that represent it all. And I have always applaud Paul's work on doing this. So I will end up with questions, I have no doubt, but not right now.
Thank you, Rod. Director Mooring, any questions?
Not at this time. Looking forward to jumping into it. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Solowski, did you have any questions?
I did have one. When you had a slide that covered the major changes, there was a few things that said continue mid-year budget addition. And so we're continuing it, we're adding it. Was it say, are you trying to say that we added something mid-year this year and we're just continuing that in the next budget? Is that what that's meaning?
Yeah, excellent question. That was a mid-year addition that occurred after the adopted budget. So it wasn't recognized in the adopted budget. So year over year, it will be a change for the budget document, but it's not a change in a service that's currently being provided for the school district. And we don't want to just say, hey, we're doing the same thing. And then you look at page, where's a good example? You look at page 12 or 16 and you say, hey, I thought we were just continuing. You weren't adding anything. And this looks like an add from year over year. We want to be very transparent that it was an addition mid-year and we're proposing that it continue.
Thank you for that clarification. No further questions.
Thank you, Rose. Board Chair Shields, any questions?
Just as we go through this, we'll be doing our usual questions after the fact. Is there any guidance from our budget people as to where we want to look to the legislature in the future, general versus specialized funding? And in particular, excuse me, dealing with the additional costs, the costs that are associated with our special needs students. We know it got some attention. I'd like to be able to see what we as the district budget think about this, so that not only is it reflected in what our needs are in our budget statements and our budget document, but it sets the stage for what we may want to be talking to our legislators about. And I think it's appropriate for you as our business officer, director of services, to help us frame that with Superintendent Owens. So this committee of board members and budget committee members can speak in one voice about general fund and specialized funds and how they're going to be funded in the future. That was a long-winded, it's not necessarily a question, but a area of focus, I think, and I'm not having read your first 3 or 4 pages in terms of our budget message, that may already be answered there.
Yeah, Superintendent Owens, you want to take a run at it, or would you like me to go first?
Yeah, I'll take a run at it. I'll combine the previous question from Director Solowski and then what we just heard from Director Shields. The addition that was made after the budget was finalized last year had to do with the particularly the amount of special education assistant hours that are allocated in the district. The way that we've done it in the previous time that I've been in this district, and this is my 14th year, is that we have a finite pot of hours that are allocated for educational assistance. And those assistants work with students who have a higher level of need in the school building and may need support in the classroom or support in small groups or otherwise. And Director Wright can speak to that more acutely than I can. But what we've had traditionally is a set amount of hours. And then as caseload sizes and needs have increased, that spreads that allotment of hours thinner. And so what I had asked for over the summer was to have it be ratio based, where when the caseloads increase, the amount of hours correspond with that, so that more students aren't fighting for the same amount of resources, if that makes sense. So that was that addition. In terms of the question that you asked with regard to special education funding, one thing that I think that some of us know here is that in the previous legislative session, in the long session, there was conversation about raising the 11% cap on special education costs to either no cap or 15% or something of that sort. Again, Director Wright and Director Southerton can speak to this with a little bit more fluency, but I believe that statewide the average is about 15 or 16% of students in a school district are identified with IEPs or special services, but we're capped at 11% on those expenses. So when you look at what I just described in terms of the educational assistant allotment, we're providing more funding and resource for students, but we're not getting the reimbursement from the state for providing those resources. And so those expenses then come from other areas. We either increase deficit or we take away from other programs or staffing to provide that service. And so that gradually eats into other parts of the budget or increases your deficit. How would you add to that, Director Wright or Director Southerton, or even Dr. Katsuda?
I'm going to toss it to Paul for some of the specifics. I think you hit all the high points there, James.
Thanks.
I mean, outside of maybe an additional piece that the budget committee may not know is that Multnomah County is a magnet for other parts of the state. So we have many students who move in from Southern Oregon, Eastern Oregon, Central Oregon, because there's not as many resources. And so some of our most high need students are moving in from other places, and with that aren't necessarily bringing funding resources from other parts of the state to Multnomah County. So that is something that we see here that's a little bit different than other parts of the state as well.
I'd absolutely agree with what Superintendent Owens and Director Wright shared. My elevator pitch, should you have a few minutes or should you feel like writing an email, what I always share when I have an opportunity is, a few short things. We need the state school fund to increase at the same rate that we're seeing costs increase. We're not asking for more. We're asking to not have to cut year after year after year. So please set the state school fund at a realistic roll-up cost, right? A COLA plus steps, right? So that's easy to understand, and it's not happening, right? So we really need them to fix that, what that continuing service level formula is each year, right? So just a reasonable increase. Yeah, fully fund mandates. We have a moral, legal, ethical obligation to serve students as they present with the needs that they present. And we do that, but we're not funded for it. The high cost disability grant, the reimbursement on that is 25 cents on the dollar. So you're pulling 75 cents on the dollar from core programming or other programming because you need to provide those services for students, and we're not getting the funding from Salem that's required. Really easy to just be like, hey, you're only funding high cost disability at 25 cents on the dollar. Like, do better. that hasn't been updated. That allocation hasn't been updated in, I believe, a decade or more. It's a finite pool of money or pot of money for high cost disability, and it's divided across the state, and it's not indexed for inflation. It hasn't been increased biennium after biennium. And then, yeah, the cap, I think, as Superintendent Owens rightly identified. You know, it's universally districts across Oregon average way higher than 11%. There's no motivation for over identifying because we're capped. So you can think of that as a very accurate number. We're not over identifying, and the average is way over the 11%. It's 15, 16% across the district as an average across the state. So let's update these. Like, very, very simple. Those three are my big takeaways. There's a million other things, but I find them small bites, easier to digest, and kind of hit those points. So advocacy for those would be my top points.
Thank you. That's really helpful, and something that I hope that we just continue to talk about, not just during budget times, but throughout the year, especially when we have opportunities to talk to legislators. But I appreciate all the input.
All right, thank you, Chair Shields. Moving on with the questions. I'll get to the chat questions after we're all done. Rudy, did you have questions?
Yeah, thank you. Kind of in a similar tone. I was just wondering, given the uncertainty around the state funding, how are we planning for long-term sustainability as we, use the fund balance?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an excellent question. So the board, the budget committee, and the administration, we've largely are in alignment in that we do have an ending fund balance that exceeds 15%, which is the maximum requirement by the board policy. And so there's no reason to curtail services while we have an excess fund balance. So the question is how to spend that down. And so the consensus that or the plan has been to a measurable amount each year to get us down to the 15%, but to not fall far below, as to not put the district in financial peril. What that looks like in a practical sense is the 3.5 million over the next couple of years is the upper bounds of that. More than that risks putting the district in peril, and you would potentially see larger reductions across the state. What that will materialize in is, absent additional funding, the $3.5 million deficit is not going to be sufficient next year to continue everything that we're doing this year. So engaging in very thoughtful and thorough evaluation and effectiveness of operations and activities to see where we can improve efficiencies and or where we can make reductions with no or limited impact on student outcomes and student supports. But it's a very difficult situation. Districts do not control their funding, right? We're not able to recruit students from other districts and say, hey, come here, don't go to Barlow, come to Centennial, because it's based on residence area, right? And districts can restrict the number of transfer outs. So it's not an opportunity. We also, there's no appeals process through the state to say, we deserve more funding based on the composition of our students or specialized needs, age of our buildings, complexity of languages spoken, complexity of student need and how they present. This is what you're provided. So districts are creative and working very hard, and we have talented and wonderful staff, and there's a reason why many districts across the state are facing cuts this year because there's just things that are outside of our control.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Rudy. And Jeanette, did you have some questions?
I don't have any questions right now. I'm a visual learner. I need to see it in front of me to be able to retain it. So at this moment, no.
Absolutely, understand that. Thank you. Michael, Director Newman, did you have any questions?
No questions that haven't already been answered by some of these other really phenomenal questions, and a great presentation, Paul. Thank you. Director Sutherland.
Thank you.
All right. Karen Wolfgang, did you have any questions? I know it's in the chat.
It turns out I do. Number one is, where do we see the PSEF monies coming in? Number two is, have there been any impacts from the TIF district as of yet? Three, when was the last time that we looked at having a internalizing special school like Centennial Park was back in the day? Done a sort of cost analysis of bringing that back in. How many of our students could we serve more immediately rather than putting them on wait lists for months and months and months to get into open school or Rosemary Anderson? So cost benefit analysis of that kind of a move. And I think I had one more, but those are three behemoths for now.
All right. So easiest one first, we've not observed a measurable impact of the new TIF district at this point in time. Portland Clean Energy Fund is a physical improvement grant, not a operations grant. You'll observe $6 million in anticipated funding through Portland Clean Energy Fund, otherwise known as PSEF, in the special revenue miscellaneous grants portion of the budget book. We have an approved project to replace the heating, ventilation, and add cooling at Powell Butte Elementary. We are in design on that project currently, and we'll be going out for bid. We anticipate in the next 2 to 3 weeks to see if we are able to award that project and start that project this summer. It is anticipated to take 2 summers worth of work, so it would be at the earliest starting this summer and finishing up next summer. We also anticipate kicking off the next 2 school years as far as design, intrusive, destructive investigation, and evaluation of options for replacing the heating, ventilation, and cooling, adding cooling at Park Lane and Oliver Middle School in the current budget. So that work would start potentially next summer as well, should we be able to proceed and get everything designed and bid out over the winter for Oliver, and likewise could take 2 summers to complete. So you see part of the PSEF allocation in this current budget document as proposed, and you would see it in a following subsequent document as well. The total allocation for those that are not familiar with Portland Clean Energy Fund over the next remaining 3.5 years, the total allocation was just under $12 million through 2 grants. We received an initial $4.6 million allocation and a subsequent through an additional application, community application with East County School Districts, an additional $7 million. It is isolated or focused, only allowable to be used on physical improvements and only for our schools with Portland addresses or residing in the Portland city limits. So that's 4 of our 9 schools. So Park Lane, Patrick Lynch, Oliver Middle School, and Powell Butte Elementary School. The other 5 schools are not eligible for the funding because they reside or have a Gresham address. And Karen, your final question was, I'm sorry, I missed the third part or not retained it.
When was the last time that there was a financial sort of cost benefit analysis of re-internalizing a special school, like having a modern day Centennial Park as a way of moving more students to a more immediate service rather than having them waiting on wait lists for Rosemary Anderson and open school. And with that, any creative methods, I'm kind of assuming that it's not cost effective or that it wouldn't be a move that could happen. But if not, are there any creative funding opportunities that we could pursue to lower the wait list to get more kids actually in the placements that they need on a timely basis?
Yeah, great question. So I'll start, and then maybe Director Wright or Superintendent Owens will want to chime in. From a purely financial standpoint, the way economics of funding schools in Oregon works, the ADM based on funding on a per student basis. Standing up a separate facility requires kind of a minimum student body, student enrollment of 200 or more students to fully support the expense of a facility, of staffing for that facility, administratively, food service, custodial, transportation, secretaries, and then, of course, all the classroom and direct student support staff. It really does not pencil out, as they say, with fewer than 200 students. They far exceed the resources that were provided from the state. We do that in some cases. So you'll see Centennial Virtual Academy has fewer than 200 students enrolled. You can observe that Centennial Transition Center has fewer than 200 students enrolled, and they do exceed the resources that are provided on a strictly student basis. So you would have to, if we were to do that again, you would be pulling resources from core or somewhere else to make up the difference between the expense and the funding from the state level. I'll add, and this is Director Wright perhaps wants to chime in, one of the core principles is serving students in the least restrictive environment, serving students in their general education classroom by a push-in model with additional supports rather than a push-out or separating, segmenting, otherwise kind of othering students. We want to serve them and be prepared with to able to serve every student in our community schools. And so I think that's always a preference. Director Wright, things to clean up there.
Yeah, I think you were able to speak to it. This has been a perpetual conversation, especially how do we support all of our students in our comprehensive settings, and what can that look like in a really creative way that doesn't pull students out of the district and away, because once students leave Centennial High School or one of our other comprehensive schools, the options that they have to engage with general education opportunities changes drastically. And there are several students in our district who, being in a large comprehensive school, is really difficult for them. So trying to meet their needs and provide them as rich of an environment as possible is something that we consider on a regular basis.
As far as creativity, I think there's opportunities to look at, do we, use the Marie Street property, and potentially do we build our own kind of alternative on that and leverage the core infrastructure that is part of Centennial High School, but still having it not be in Centennial High School proper. I think there's an opportunity to kind of explore that. That's been discussed in the past, and I think doing a robust analysis would be an investment of, probably a couple $100,000 worth of actual architect and designing and engineering, and really see what would the land use process be, what would the site need for infrastructure to get a really good number, other than kind of a swag at it. To get a really thoughtful number, there would be some investigation, and that might be something that the board wants to do.
Would it ever be an option for the district to open a charter school there, and in that way attract, students from other districts? I don't know. This is a longer conversation. Probably nobody else is interested in, but
I'll pass that question to somebody else. You're out of my scope there.
I'll clean up some of the previous parts of the question on some thoughts just to round it out from my perspective. And then as far as the charter, I would actually defer that to some of our board members here in terms of willingness and appetite for that. In terms of Centennial Park School, as some of us know, that program sunsetted or closed in 2020, and then we stood up Centennial Virtual Academy, which isn't a one-for-one, but it was a format change that happened during COVID. As Director Southerton spoke to, our general philosophy is to support our students in our home school environments. And I also recognize that that's easier said than done, and it's messier in practice than it is in philosophy. As far as outside placements are concerned, Rosemary Anderson and Open School that were referenced, and those are the primary ones that we engage with. Director Wright, Director Southerton, and I have met with the directors of both of those programs within the last month. And I'm unaware of any school district that's expanding seats in those programs at this point. It's either maintaining the status quo or contracting seats. And so the philosophy that I expressed is something that's shared, in other school districts as well. And to Director Southerton's point, it kind of just comes down to dollars and cents at some point in terms of if we have limited funds, we're running deficits, and we're in reductions as we've been in the last couple of years. We've done some cost-cutting exercises in the last couple of years, less so this year. It just becomes a math problem of if we're going to expand this, what are we going to take away from existing programming to do that? And that's just a tough question to ask. I think what is most viable at this point is potentially, and this hasn't had any discussion, just some side conversations that I've had or other people have had, is the concept that I think Director Southerton spoke to or alluded to, a school within a school format where you have setting for students who have specialized needs. And it could be either within the school or it could be on an ancillary auxiliary site. We have the Marie Street property, and that's something that can be discussed during current long-range facility planning process that we're going through. Does it make sense to build a freestanding building adjacent to the high school where we have space to be able to do that? And what would that space be used for? Or could it be used for a program like what we're talking about here? What we found with Centennial Park School is it was just becoming more and more expensive. And frankly speaking, from my perspective, and I'd invite others here as well, in particular Director Shields, the quality of the programming was questionable. And so that was a consideration as well. Director Shields, would you add anything to that? I see you nodding your head.
It took a few years to really look at what was going on with Centennial Park. And as we did, in terms of the cost benefit for the number of students served versus that money coming back into our general programming, it just became unsustainable. And so that was the decision of the board makeup at the time, to sunset that program. And then, of course, the virtual academy, because of the COVID environment, kind of took off from there, which I'm glad that we have that, at least that as an option. And I appreciate what we've been doing in terms of, especially with Director Wright and her leadership, finding and creating an environment that's best suited for the student and their student need. And she and her staff have always had to really look at those students as individuals and find where the best service is going to be obtained for them. So with adding a school during a time when you're saying we have lower enrollments and we're having deficits, that would just be a kind of a tough sell. I do appreciate, though, Superintendent Owens, the discussion as it relates to the facilities planning, if that started to show up in facilities planning as a need in our community. I would also be interested in shared resources. We're not the only one, excuse me, that experiencing lower enrollment within our district. That is true of our surrounding districts as well. What are the partnerships that could be handled between us, whether that be Gresham Barlow, David Douglas, Reynolds, etc.? What are those kind of models look like? Or are there models that we could be looking at that would help serve additional students? It's a question. We do have a model. We do have Cal that is a model for our, for our career technical, but do we have a model that would be sustainable for our other students who have those kinds of needs that we've identified and tried to work within our own resources? This is our, first year or second year of our insourcing more and more, and our growing pains as it relates to that. But again, I just hats off to the staff who's been working through those things and always keeping the student needs foremost in their mind.
And I'm not going to pursue this any further tonight. I appreciate the long range planning opportunity for the Marie Street property, the history of Centennial Park and programming there. My son just happens to be one of the 6,300 and however many students we have in the district. It's not that many guys, but he's a very he's a unique individual. But he's one of the folks that was causing a lot of discipline problems at the high school, which didn't really get addressed. He just kind of wandered around the school getting high in the bathrooms and causing trouble for peers. And I know he's not the only one doing that. There's other problematic behaviors arising that, so for him, I took him out of the high school. So he was doing CVA for a while. He passed 3 classes, but he was using a bot. It was the first time since middle school that he's ever passed classes. And so he did that for 3 months, and that's not nothing. But we were on the wait list for Rosemary Anderson for 6 months. So disruptive at the high school, you know, just lost at home using a bot to complete some online classes. And then finally he's at Rosemary Anderson. And I hope it's good. I hope it works out. But I can't imagine he's the only kid that's facing that kind of lostness within our district, causing problems for peers and just not getting what he needs on that's a pretty long-term basis, and it's not the first time that he's disrupted from CHS either. So I just, because he's not the only one, I would like to look at this as a systemic, question for the district. And it'll be too late by the time we institute anything for my little guy, but maybe some other kids can come up behind him and have a better experience that way.
All right. Thank you, Karen, for your questions and willingness to share your experience. And thank you for that. It goes a long way. We will continue on with questions. Sequoia?
Hello. Yes, I have a few questions and then most likely more after I comb through the leaves of the presentation. My first question is, do we have any grant writers in the district? And my second question is, with the increase of the salary of the teachers, will that affect their school funding? And if so, how are we going to balance what they had versus what they will get? Third, how are we going to present to the students with the funding, with the dropout? Because in the presentation, it said it was a dropout, but it was like a special dropout fund. Do the school present that to the students on the verge of leaving? So those are 3 of my questions so far.
Excellent. In regard to teacher salaries, those are factored into the budget already, and we're not proposing any reductions in this budget. It did increase the size of the deficit to have those increases approved and by the board, and we understand the importance of being highly competitive in our region for teacher salaries, and we know our educators work very hard, and so we are in the fortunate position of being able to not have to make reductions yet with those increases. So I hope that answers your question in regard to licensed salaries or teacher salaries. The dropout prevention funding is not directly to students. It funds positions to address dropout and support keeping students in the district. So it helps fund engagement programs, additional elective opportunities, which we know students who participate in Cal, for example, graduate at a higher rate than students that don't participate in CTE or in Cal. Reconnection outreach. So connecting and reaching out to students who have dropped out and trying to engage them and get them reconnected with the district. I welcome if Director Olson wants to speak more on the Measure 98 high school success dropout prevention programs, or Director Wright.
I'm happy to speak a little bit to that. So we are really fortunate as a part of our high school success funds. We have a reconnections coordinator who focuses in at the middle school level for both OMS and CMS and Centennial High School. And so Melissa Danini does amazing work that kind of captures a lot of things. She case manages students who are in our alternative options, such as Rosemary Anderson, Open, students who are attending Portland Youth Builders or Helen's View. So she stays connected with them. So they have a connection with our school district because they are our students, even though they're attending some different options. And then she also works really closely with the Tier 3 teams at all three of those schools around students who are either hitting the 10-day drop or have been 10-day drop to help to problem solve what are the options to get the students re-engaged. She has also worked to build an in-district GED program. So I think a few people have asked, you know, what are the creative solutions that Centennial can offer? So one of the things has been, for years, students would ask to be dropped from Centennial so they could attend Mountain Hood Community College's GED program or Rosemary Anderson's GED program. And so Melissa has worked with Zach and the high school administration so that we can offer students credits while they're taking the practice tests in preparation to see if they're ready for the GED. So it's based on a similar model that students were accessing in previous places. So there are several things that are happening, and any student who drops out is one too many. So there still is more work to do. And I bet Director Olson could speak to kind of that front end that we want to do way upstream before we get to the 10-day drops or students considering that school isn't a place for them.
So thank you for that, Director Wright. Speaking specifically to the dropout prevention, when we start to get concerned about students, but there's a lot of prevention that happens, as she was saying, upstream, especially some of the, the initiatives include our ninth grade success team, where we're starting off with, kind of a wraparound team of teachers who are working, looking at student data, thinking about ways that they are really engaging our freshmen for success and tracking them on a regular basis for credit attainment, for attendance, for engagement and belonging in school. And then that just extends to the work that we've been doing through our PLCs and professional learning around providing culturally responsive, linguistically responsive education instructional strategies for our students, having conversations about how we are including that sense of belonging, and looking at our students from strength-based perspective and how we can ensure that our instruction is aligned with their lived experiences, increasing that sense of belonging so that we are able to have relationships with students and have those conversations when we see trends in the data, or trends in their behavior starting to show us that it's time to lean in a little bit more.
And Director Southerton, the third part of that question that Sequoia had to do with grant writing.
Absolutely. Yep. Teed up for that one next. So grant writing, it's a great question. I will say we have none and we have many is how I describe grant writing in Centennial. So Director Wright, who's been a star on this show, this presentation this evening, perhaps one of the most prolific grant writers that we have within the district, and received a grant recently for $500,000 at the federal level, and instrumental in securing the student investment account additional grants that we spoke on earlier with the Latino AX grants and the Native Pacific Islander and Native American grants that we received. We have numerous examples that our librarian is prolific in applying for grants for additional library books. Transportation applies for grants for electric school buses. Just throughout the district, we're applying for grants. Our Safe Routes to School program person, I believe we call them coordinator, just sent a grant through today for some opportunities to have some improvements to the facilities at Park Lane. And so it's not, while not one specific person, we are heavily engaged in grants, and our employees, our staff members, team members do as well. So the math department applied for grants to help students prepare their tax returns and receive that grant this year as well. We did explore, at the direction of the previous budget committee and the board, securing a grant writing part-time position. Part of that directive was to investigate that with and see how it happens at other districts and kind of what the return on investment is for that position. And unfortunately, looking at kind of our peer districts that have that position, it really didn't generate enough grant funding to support a separate position. It was helpful in the administrative burden of applying for grants, taking that workload off Director Wright, for example, or otherwise, or others, but it didn't result in additional grants that exceeded the funding of supporting that position. And so with the reductions and the deficits that we're having, it was not recommended to continue in the prior budget, nor is it recommended necessarily to continue in this budget. I think we'll continue to rely on Director Wright working unpaid hours after the off the clock applying for our grant funding. So, James, I'm sure there's stuff to clean up there.
Nope, well done.
All right. Thank you, Sequoia. All right, moving on with questions. Director Lynn, did you have questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you. And Director Mooring, I'm not sure if I called on you or not, but now's your chance. We can repeat.
Thank you, Chair Harden. You did, and I do not have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I got everyone except myself. My one question, compared to the others, seems pretty light. So in the general funding, you showed a $3.5 million shortfall. What is the shortfall in the special funds category?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. There is no shortfall in the special funds category because we do not carry a fund balance in those funds. So there's not a savings to draw from. The student investment account is a year-by-year allocation or biennium allocation, and so we can't overspend those allocations. If we, for example, if title comes in at measurably less than we're receiving this year, we'll have to make reductions, right? It's not a possibility to overspend those accounts and run at a deficit like it is in the general fund.
Thank you. And then I want to take a moment to review the chat, just kind of so it's on record. The particular issue that came up that Director Shields brought up about advocacy for our special needs students. Is there an email we can get or a written version that we can pass along to our legislators?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to prepare some talking points and send those on to the committee.
Thank you for that. And it looks like Director Mooring passed along a legislator contact information in the chat. Was there any other questions that people had or needed addressed before we move on? Feel free to raise your hands. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Great questions, great engagement tonight. All right. Paul, what's next?
Yeah, absolutely. So moving forward, I just want to share the calendar. So today was the presentation of the proposed budget. No action today, as stated earlier. This is just the opportunity for you all to receive the budget message and receive the budget. We would like to have your feedback on the budget, any proposed corrections, typos, suggested or recommendations by April 30th. So a full week to review it. And then we have the second budget committee meeting with the proposed approved budget at that point in time on May 27th. Questions can be sent to budget@Centennial School District or CSD28J.org. That is sent to the business office, myself, and others. We welcome questions. This is very much a participatory process. We want your feedback. We want your questions. We hope we address many of them through calling out the major financial changes from year to year, and we welcome many others. As is my practice, I will share all questions with the full committee, all answers and questions. So that way, if you have the same question, but you haven't had a chance to email me, you may see that. And you may see a question that you didn't think of or something else. And you just, the opportunity is to be very transparent and make sure the full committee has all of the information when considering approving the budget at the next meeting. There are some additional resources in the presentation, and as the screen was previously shared, I will be sharing this presentation with the full committee. You'll also receive a digital or electronic copy of the budget from me via email, and you'll receive a printed copy of the budget. It looks like this. You'll see it. You'll be receiving it in the mail. It is a couple hundred pages, but I know, people perhaps like myself who like a physical paper copy and to make notes and to highlight and refer back to will appreciate that. That will be coming to your mailbox in the very near future, perhaps as early as Friday, so you have ample time to review it, but you will get an electric copy. And the budget is now, a proposed budget is now a public document, so it is on our website. That is these kind of screenshot I'm displaying here on the right-hand side. So under the budget committee, highlighted in blue, proposed budget is right here for the public to see as well. And the public may request a printed copy of it at the district office. With that, Chair Harden, I'm happy to present the agenda to see next steps, if that's helpful.
Let me just walk through the process and see if anybody has any questions. Like, as just to review what Paul was saying, we will all get a copy of the budget emailed to us, as well as a physical paper copy. These are public documents. You can share them with friends, colleagues, co-workers, other members of the community, the accounting class at the high school, wherever you feel like sharing this document. It is for public knowledge. And feel free to review and ask questions at any time through April 30th. By April 30th, we the budget team asks that for all the questions so they can analyze it and make any necessary adjustments to the budget that may come from our questions and our direction. So April 30th is a very key time. All questions, as Paul said, will be answered within the entire group. You don't need to send them out to the entire group, but all the answers and questions will be sent to the entire group. And we definitely appreciate your engagement. There is no question too small. If you need a point of clarification, spelling errors, any of those things, we would like to have them addressed. And it also provides ample time for the business department to make any necessary adjustments before we come back. Feel free to email me as well if you have any questions or concerns or any needs. I'm happy to address them. Paul, is there anything else?
Great.
Before
Just kind of
future agenda items?
Nope. Well said. I think you captured it. Definitely participatory process. So we want to hear from you all. And if you don't have any questions, feel free to let us know that, thank you. And I don't have any questions, just so we know that you had that opportunity to review via email. You can send me an email or call. So future agenda items, and I'll make this a little bit larger here or attempt to. So at the May 27th second budget meeting, that will be our opportunity to present to you the recommended approved budget We'll also be presenting the recommended tax levy and bond levy. So tax levy is for the operational property tax levy for operations, and then bonded levy is the levy to pay back the debt service for the bond for next year. The budget committee will also receive public comment, so that is the opportunity for members from the public to make comment. And then ultimately, we will be asking you to consider and to approve the budget, tax levy, and bond levy at the next meeting on May 27th. Should the budget committee, full committee, approve the budget at that point in time, the budget document is not official yet. It will be referred to the school board for consideration of adoption in June. And then ultimately, upon that adoption, we would have an approved budget for July. Question has been asked before, not at this meeting, but what happens if we don't have an approved budget? It means we have no authorization and nobody gets paid or nothing happens in July. So hopefully we will receive feedback and come back to you in May, hearing your feedback, hearing your direction, and be presenting to you a budget you feel very comfortable approving in the next meeting, and ultimately the school board feels comfortable adopting in June.
Well said. And on the timeline, you do not need to wait till April 30th to ask questions. You can ask anytime until the end of the day, April 30th.
Absolutely.
Does sorry, I'm a little long, Board Chair Shields, anybody have any last minute questions about the process or next steps? Feel free to raise your hand. All right, I'm seeing none. And I want to say thank you to Director Southerton. Thank you, Superintendent Owens. Thank you to Director Wright, Director Olson for your answers and engagement tonight. Appreciate you guys. Great questions, great answers, great dialogue back and forth.
Absolutely. I extend my gratitude in the business office and the district's gratitude to the full budget committee members. Thank you for your time. This is an unpaid position, your thoughtful consideration of the budget, your feedback, direction, spending time away from your families to be here with us. Great questions, everyone who asked them. Thank you so much. We have a lot of gratitude for the committee. So thank you very much for everything tonight.
All right. And seeing nothing else, we will call this meeting adjourned at 7:32. Chair Shields, board members, will be the same link for our board meeting.
Yes.
Yep. And so
let's go ahead and take a break. If you think that we probably need a small break. I know that this is the login for our regular board work session. So people who may be joining us for the work session, hang tight. We do need a little break. After that was a great meeting. Chair Harden, you got through a lot, and we really appreciate all the work that's been done. So, board members, let's say, can we do it in 5 or do you need 10? I'm looking. 5 works. All right. So let's look at this. It's 7:33. So add 5 to that. So before 7:40, get here. Bye, everyone else, though. Thank you so much for your engagement. The rest of you, stick around. So, Missy, you're going to need me to just say, hey, we're going to get ready to start, and you'll then start the meeting again, the recording again?
Yeah, I just paused it right now. We are still live streaming, so just so you're aware of that as people come in and if any conversations take place, I'll make sure that we're aware. And we do have our 2 guests here from Mount Hood, so I'm going to bring them over here shortly after our break.
All right, perfect. Well, that way that people know what's going on. We're not just dilly-dallying. We need a little bit of a break with this all. All right. Thank you.
True. Okay, see you in a bit.
Bye. When you arrive, board members, please put on your camera so I know you're here. Aha, I see you now. Good job. It helps me keep track too, honestly. Although you keep moving around the screen as we talk, so it's always such a fun time trying to keep track during our Zoom meetings. I appreciate the camera. I think we've got everybody. Director Hardin, Director Lynn, Vice Chair Morin, Director Newman, Director Selesky, and Director Shields. Yes, we're all here. Great. Thank you, everybody. So if we can start our recording. Right. Good evening. I'm going to call to order the Centennial School District Board of Directors work session for April 22nd, 2026. And board members, I'd like you to look at our agenda, and can have a motion to approve as presented.
Chair Shields, I would like to make a motion to remove item 7.1.1.2 from tonight's agenda.
Thank you. I think it's appropriate. We do have a board member that is not available this evening for that discussion as well. So any questions, objections, or concerns, board members? Seeing or hearing none, the adjustment to the agenda would be to remove 7.1.1.2. So lengthy thing. So, Director Hardin's motion to approve without adjustment. Is that what I have from you?
Yeah.
Thank you. And do I have a second on that too?
Seconded.
Thank you, Director Newman. It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda with the one removal of one item as mentioned previously. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much, everyone. Anybody object? Should always check for that. Thank you. Appreciate it. So this week we are doing a teacher appreciation acknowledgement and proclamation. And board directors, I know that you all have copies of our Appreciation Week proclamation. So I'd like you to look at your copy and make sure that we bring this into the record, acknowledging our licensed staff. And I'm going to start out. So for Teacher Appreciation Week, whereas teachers serve in partnership with the parents of our community's children, and
whereas teachers strive to instruct students to read with comprehension, write with skill, and communicate effectively and responsibly in a variety of ways and settings, and
whereas teachers teach our community's children to know and apply the core concepts and principles of mathematics, social, physical, and life sciences, civics, history, geography, arts, health, fitness, and
whereas teachers inspire students to think analytically, logically, and creatively, and to integrate experience and knowledge to form reasoned judgments and solve problems, and
whereas teachers help our students understand the importance of work and how performance, effort, and decisions directly affect career and educational opportunities, and whereas we support our teachers in their mission to educate the children of our community.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Centennial School District Governing Board designates the week of May 4th through 8th, 2026 as Teacher Appreciation Week, and
be it further resolved that the Centennial School District calls on the community to join with it in personally thanking and recognizing certified staff for their dedication and devotion to their work. Thank you all. Teachers in our district, very much appreciated.
Yay.
Hey, something we want to acknowledge. We don't have to just acknowledge it during Teacher Appreciation Week. I think we are pretty clear that we appreciate all of our staff and those have worked directly with our students as well. So back to our agenda, we have some minutes that need to be approved. The April 8th board meeting minutes, that were in board book. Do I have a motion to approve? Don't speak at once.
I move to approve the meeting minutes for April 8th, 2026.
I'll second.
Good job, everyone. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the draft minutes as presented. All those in favor indicate by raising your hand and saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Really appreciate the hand raising, guys, because that way I know that I've got everybody. And it looks like everybody was in approval. We don't have any public comment at this time. This is a work session, so we don't do public comment, but we are moving towards reports. And we have a report about the Mount Hood Community College bond update. We have MHCC President Lisa Scari and board member Tamura Ender. Anything, Superintendent Owens, anything you wanted to say prior to their presentation for us this evening?
Congratulations to Mount Hood Community College on the passage of their bond. It was a long time coming, and we're excited to hear this update as far as the plans that are concerned. And so I'll pass it over to Dr. Scari and Director Ender to go ahead and share their presentation with us.
Well, thank you, James, and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us a little time on your agenda tonight to kind of give you an update on what's happened, and both at the college and with the bond. I'm Lisa Scari, and I'm joined by my board member, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. Tamura Ender, recently appointed to the board in January, and proud to represent Zone 4, which is the most western edge of Mount Hood's boundaries. Excited to be here. Thank you.
I'm going to share here. All right. So Mount Hood has been serving our region for nearly 60 years. We were founded in 1966 when we awarded our first associate's degree just 2 years later. And since then, our role in our region has only grown. Today, we serve a very large and diverse geographic area covering 3 counties, 3 campuses, and we employ over 1,200 dedicated faculty and staff. Last year alone, we awarded nearly 1,500 degrees and certificates while keeping tuition affordable at $124 per credit. And through our foundation, has been absolutely amazing. We invested almost $1 million in student scholarships this year, which helps provide that access so needed in our district. Now, Mount Hood Community College was designed to meet students where they are and hopefully take them to where they want to go. That includes everything from dual credit with our high school students, all of you, I should say your students, adult basic education, GED, our transfer programs, career and technical ed. But we also offer community education, business training, apprenticeship, Head Start, and we're proud to offer Oregon's only applied baccalaureate degree in cybersecurity. And in fact, this spring, we're going to be graduating our first bachelor's students, and we're pretty excited about that. Now, this breadth is intentional. It reflects the many pathways students take into careers and into higher education. Now, I want to pause and just say thank you, because last year, our community, as Superintendent Owens mentioned, finally passed a bond. It had been 50 years, and it means so much to us. We know that that vote is a powerful statement of trust, and we take our responsibility very seriously. Mount Hood is the only educational institution in Oregon that has received the National Triple Crown Award from the Government Financial Officers Association, and that's awarded for stewardship and transparency of taxpayer dollars. Part of us coming out and sharing with you what we're doing is to further that transparency. I also like to point out that the college has a significant economic impact on our district. Every year between our actual expenditures and the revenues of our alumni, we generate $423 million annually. And this supports roughly, if you were trying to calculate it, 5,000 jobs. Since we've opened our doors, it's actually higher now, but it's been over 1 million students. And so we're pleased with that. We're happy to be here still serving our district. Now our student body, we serve over 18,000 students. 75% of those students attend part-time, and 65% of them are first in their family to go to college. 2/3 of them live right here in our district, and over 40% are students of color. And this is why partnerships like ours matter so much, because Mount Hood Community College is often the first step into higher education, especially for students who might not otherwise see college as an option. Now this side shows our strength, or the strength of our partnership. Each year, hundreds of students participate in dual enrollment, earning college credit while still in high school, and hundreds more that are graduates from Centennial attend our college each year. And our numbers we're projecting this year, what you're seeing for 25-26 was as of March. Clearly on the dual credit, we still have enrollments coming in, and for our regular enrollments. So we anticipate being close to or at pre-pandemic levels, which we're excited about. Now these are real measurable pathways from high school to college to career, and we know that they're working. So we appreciate this partnership and look forward to continuing to serve your students, and hopefully that they will become our students.
Thank you so much. And I will just excited to share more about our bond work. And that's really about building our future together. And one of the things we want to highlight is just we're working toward delivering on the community trust. And one of the things we said when the bond went out was that there wouldn't be any new spaces. It was mainly to focus on improving critical HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and safety improvements. So like things like access cards, that will kind of lock down protections and other kind of safety enhancements and security enhancements. So the other thing we're doing a lot of is restoring athletic facilities, expanding ADA, and improving community pools. As you all may know, the pool on our campus is one of the few in the region that is Olympic size. And we also, for accountability reasons, appointed a Citizens Bond Oversight Committee meeting, and they've had at least one meeting and then have additional meetings coming up later this month. And so we appreciate all the assistance and feedback that we received, and we've really taken that to heart and in terms of the delivery and the planning for the infrastructure enhancements. In terms of the bond guidelines, you'll probably see a lot of action on campus in terms of construction, and that's partly because we need to be spending 75% of those funds in the first 3 years. And so we are kind of onboarding those contractors and project managers now. And so we are kind of ramping up to a period of somewhat intense construction activity. And obviously some of that's already begun. And then we were able to leverage our strong credit rating with, and we took the bonds to the bank, and as a result of the strong credit rating, we're able to have essentially $10 million going towards the bond. And then that, in addition, was matched by a $8 million grant from the state. So the total investment in campus upgrades will be close to $155 million. And so we're excited about kind of leveraging our existing strong financial strength to deliver even more for our community. And then we've already, as I mentioned, had work started. So we did a track resurfacing and ADA improvements that will, we prioritize that mainly because we're expecting a large track meet on campus for a number of schools from out of town, and that's anticipated to be around May 15th. So we kind of prioritize that, and then working on a retractable dome that should be for the pool that should be complete later this calendar year. So we're excited about the things that are kind of the early implementation of some of this bond work. And then in terms of what you can expect in the spring and summer, we, as I mentioned, bringing on our engineering and architectural partners, additional paving, and then kind of subject matter experts. And then what it means for both students and the community is, improved classroom facilities, safer classroom facilities. And what we hear a lot from students is, we want kind of those third spaces. You're thinking about, like, as a students, this is a time where they've, either in high school or graduated high school, and they're obviously we have different age ranges and things like that, but we hear from campus surveys that there's really a hunger for kind of informal connections between students and study areas and things like that. And so we're working on doing that, and then incorporating some of the colors from Mount Hood Community College in some of those new designs. So that is super exciting. And then also it also allows us to leverage some of these improvements, allows us to leverage the existing facilities. So by example, by putting the cover on the pool, we're able to now use that surface year round. And so that allows us to host more public events and really have Mount Hood Community College be a stronger resource and an anchor for the larger community. So that's what we're excited about. You can kind of keep track of our progress at the website kind of listed right here. And you can sign up for mailing updates as well. And so with that, I will turn it back over to President Scari. Thank you.
Thank you. And before we move off bond, I just want to say a big thank you to the district. When we actually received the bond and had to figure out, bond oversight committees, how to kind of work, my staff reached out to the Centennial folks who provided examples, provided recommendations. And so you were all incredibly helpful to us in getting things up and going. And a big thank you from all of my staff for your help, but also for me personally with supporting us that way. Now, our big news for next year is Mount Hood turns 60 years old. And for a community college, that's on the younger side. And just a fun little retrospect. Barney is our mascot, and it's been kind of fun to look at the various versions of Barney throughout the years. And we're hoping to collect some more so we can share those. But we're really looking at this to be, partly a milestone, but also an opportunity. Not to just talk about what we've accomplished in the last 60 years, but our partnerships, how we're working with the community, and then really where we're going into the future. It's one thing to pause and celebrate where you are, but you continue to move forward. So our plan is to start this in the fall when we kick off the school year, and we'll celebrate throughout the entire year, ending with graduation in spring of 2027. And our hope is really we want to make this not just about us, but about the broader community, because we've done this together. From its early inception days, the community was the one who brought Mount Hood Community College to fruition. So how do we recognize that, celebrate it, and tell the various stories of the institution that have happened throughout the decades? It's, in addition to celebrating, I think, as I mentioned, it's also about looking forward and where we're going in the next 60 years and how we're doing that together. And one way to the engagement part that you could help out with is, I have a feeling some of you may actually have some old photos potentially of your time at Mount Hood, or activities at Mount Hood, or events at Mount Hood. If you have any old photos, we would love for you to share them with us. Obviously, we're working on various montages throughout the year to kind of highlight different images. And we have so many, but we're asking members of the community if they have pictures they're willing to share, to please send them to us and let us know. And there is the email address where you can send this. Also, if you have fond stories or memories, let us, share that. I had a gentleman last night when we were at the Happy Valley Council meeting His first contact with Mount Hood was back in the 80s when he was in Tokyo, and we had a school there. So want to try to track down some photos of that. But anyway, I just thank you again for all your support, and we look forward to working with you into the future. That is our presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, President Scari. As we do in these virtual meetings, we try to make sure everyone has an opportunity to ask any questions that have come to mind, especially after your presentation. So Director Hardin, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. Thanks for coming tonight, and congratulations on passing the bond. I know those physical improvements to the property really help kind of engage people and kind of bring a sense of pride. My question is about capacity for, I appreciate the partnership that you have with the students that are excelling and the co-curricular environment that they have. Do you have the partnership or capacity to handle a student population that may not be meeting their requirements, credit-wise, achievement-wise, scholastically? Not quite sure how to phrase that, but our students that may be struggling to not just meet the credit requirement, but to actually meet the state standard requirement, do you have a capacity to help coach those kids, those students along, or that student body?
Are you referring to like high school credit retrieval sorts of programs, or is it?
Yeah. And not just credit retrieval, but the credit is the end goal, and that's great to show the achievement, but actually growing their learning and retention of the knowledge being taught.
So I'm going to need to get back to you on that one as far as specific programs. I know we have like our adult basic education, but those tend to be for folks that have left your school. And I know not the same thing, but one area we're trying to start to expand in is doing more dual credit in the CTE spaces, so that it gets people that have interest in particular CTE programs you have. How can we give them a jump? But as far as that kind of in between, let me get back to you on that. And I apologize for not having that off the top of my head.
It's okay. It's kind of on the spot and a little bit outside the box, but it might be a way that we can explore a partnership to meet the needs of the students.
Well, and I'm thinking maybe, I don't know if there's timing, right? But if there's specific things we could kind of co-develop, whether it's over the summer or different times that might meet that need. Yeah, interesting to explore. So.
Thank you.
Director Lynn?
No, thank you for your presentation.
Vice Chair Mooring?
Thank you. Thank you both so much for being here to present on the bond. Congratulations. That's a big accomplishment to pass the first bond in over 50 years. It's good news for everybody who are going out for bonds, especially us too, when we go out for ours a little down the road here, that there is community support for these things. And I think your approach to reporting back to the community that supported you is awesome. And we can take away some notes from that as well. So I look forward to hearing more about how things go there. And just again, appreciate you being here to give us an update on it. Thank you so much. I don't have any specific questions.
Thank you. Director Newman?
Hi, I too would want to congratulate you on the successful passing of the bond. I was really excited to see that vote, the yays win it. I don't have any particular questions, but I do really want to express my gratitude for the partnership with Centennial. My recently graduated student from Centennial High School went into college with just a ton of credits from the get-go. That was really gave them some breathing room in college, and my youngest, who's at Centennial, is looking forward to doing the same over the next few years. So thank you.
Director Selesky?
I have no questions. Thank you very much for the role that you play in our community. And yeah, especially the relationship with Centennial. I have to say that my memories growing up with Mount Hood definitely started with the Scottish Highland Games. We would go out there every summer. My aunt would dance and my, throw the big rocks, all the fun things. So I probably actually have some old photos in some family albums I can get you from there. But wonderful, wonderful opportunity for our community that just to have you guys there. So thank you so much.
And Chair Shields. Well, Chair Shields is a graduate from Mount Hood Community College. Husband attended Mount Hood Community College. Sister, brother-in-laws, 2, all 3 children, and now 2 grandchildren. All are at Mount Hood. And so Centennial has been in my life. So has Mount Hood been in my life. So it's always good to hear the kinds of things that have been accomplished over this period of time. You are in good hands with, I see that one of your project managers is Scott Rose. And we really worked, he worked tirelessly with us, but our bond oversight committee just had nothing but praise for that man and how he kind of held it together, because sometimes community and staff can be a little like herding cats in terms of all of the things we want to have done in the period of time that we have to do it. And he's going to be a great mentor for you in getting through the process. So thank you so much for your report and congratulations on getting it passed. And looking forward to continued involvement with our students, in particular, our CTE programs, apprenticeship programs as well. Transfer is important, we understand that, but we also want to make sure that we're serving the needs of all of our students. And sometimes the word college comes out bright, but this is a college that serves all students, and we want to make sure that we continue that partnership and make sure that our students are well aware of all of the breadth that Mount Hood has to offer. So appreciate your input tonight, and congratulations to your appointment, Director Engary.
Thank you so
taking on
much.
a new role. All right. Well, then we're going to wrap it up, unless anything else that come to mind from you two before we leave you.
No, just thank you so much.
Superintendent Owens, any last words for you?
Yeah, I don't have any questions, but I would say 2 things. Number 1, the pool rendering looked amazing. I appreciate the emphasis on the aquatic center. I know a lot of areas have shied away from that, and it seems like Mount Hood's doubled down and recognizes what a resource that is. And also, when I look at it being Olympic size, it's exhausting just to look at it, because it's so hard to swim in an Olympic sized pool with how long it is. The other thing I would say is that I was intrigued by the 60th anniversary, because Centennial will be celebrating its 50th anniversary next year. So I think Chief Andrig and I would like to pick your and your team's brain as to how you're approaching that, because that'll be a good opportunity for us to galvanize our community as well. So appreciate you adding that element in there.
Well, thank you so much, and we'll say good night. You are more than welcome to stick around, but I know that that's something you get to do on a regular basis. So we'll say good night to you both.
Thanks for the opportunity. Take care.
Superintendent Owens, you are next in our report list.
All right, I've got depending on how you take this, it's a longer report, so that's either good or not for you. Greetings, board directors. It's my pleasure and privilege to share with you this update about happenings in our school district. Each year, Centennial School District recognizes Administrative Professionals Day as an opportunity to thank the staff across our schools and offices who keep our system running day to day. The roles vary widely and are essential to the functioning of our schools and district operations. Earlier this week, district office administrators recognized our administrative assistants with a small appreciation event, including a salad-themed lunch served by the administrative team. This evening, I also want to recognize Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and Board of Directors, Missy Grindle, who is supporting tonight's meeting. On behalf of the board and administration, I want to thank Missy for her continued professionalism, organization, and support. Hey, Missy. As mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, this year's Teacher Appreciation Week is May 4th through 8th, 2026. Teacher Appreciation Week provides an opportunity to recognize the work our licensed staff do each day in support of student learning and success. In recognition of our licensed staff, we will be hosting a Teacher Appreciation Breakfast on Wednesday, May 6th at the Centennial Middle School cafeteria from 7 to 9:30 a.m. Board members are welcome to attend, and you will soon receive a calendar invitation from Missy. And if you're one of the folks who received one of those aprons from Dining Services, I know Director Salowski likes to represent that when she comes. I mentioned in my report earlier this month, and it's worth mentioning again, that our annual Connect to Kindergarten event is on Thursday, May 7th from 5 to 7 p.m. at each of our 6 elementary schools across the district. During this event, attendees can meet the principal and teachers, learn what to expect during kindergarten, tour the school, explore a school bus, visit a kindergarten classroom, and receive registration information, as well as register for the early kindergarten transition program, dates of which will be available in May. School tours will happen between 5 and 6, with online registration assistance available from 6 to 7 p.m. Any child who will be 5 years of age or before September 30th is eligible for enrollment in kindergarten at their designated neighborhood school. Information and instructions for online registration are available on the district website. It's time to start talking about summer school. Centennial School District is planning for summer learning opportunities for elementary, middle, and high school students as we await notification of the state summer learning grant funding. This year's program focuses on academics with an emphasis on literacy, with targeted programming by prioritized grade levels that include structured literacy, transition supports for key entry grades, and math skill development for secondary students aligned to grade level expectations. At the elementary level, the program will serve students in grades K through 2 and will be held at Meadows Elementary School and Park Lane Elementary School from July 27th to August 24th, operating Monday through Friday for 5.5 hours a day, meeting the required instructional minutes in the grant. Students will receive breakfast and lunch at no cost, and transportation will be available for qualifying students. Students currently in grades 3 through 4 will participate in sun-coordinated experiences that blend academic and enrichment opportunities throughout the day, concurrently with the academic summer school. At the middle school level, the academic program will serve students in grades 5 and will be held at Centennial Middle School over the same July 27th through August 24th window, operating Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 2:45. Current 6th and 7th graders will participate in some programming concurrently. At the high school level, programming will include 9th grade counts focused on transition and readiness for English language arts and algebra success, as well as credit recovery at Centennial High School and credit completion through Centennial Virtual Academy. While the overall structure is similar to prior years, the scope of the program is aligned to the available resources and staffing, with a focus on delivering a high-quality targeted experience for participating students. Additional details regarding enrollment and participation will continue to be refined as implementation approaches. Last Wednesday, April 15th, staff from every school participated in the 4th and final session of our 4-part professional learning series, facilitated through our partnership with West Ed and supported by an Oregon Department of Education grant. This series is designed to strengthen Tier 1 equity teams in translating our equity commitments into building level professional learning and classroom practice. The April session, titled Making Student Worlds the Center, focused on how school systems and classroom practices help shape students' sense of belonging and engagement. Building on prior sessions, participants examined interpersonal instructional and instructional practices. Sorry, let me read that again. Participants examined interpersonal, instructional, and institutional practices that can either support or limit students' access to meaningful learning experiences. Teams analyzed barriers facing specific student groups and identified research-informed strategies to better connect instruction to student identities, experiences, and communities. The session also included dedicated time for school teams to begin developing action plans and align this work to upcoming building-based professional learning. The session marked the conclusion of the four-part series, with schools continuing this work through ongoing professional learning aligned to the profile of a Centennial graduate, transformative SEL standards, and the district's broader equity priorities. Our next level of work is to embed explicit equity-centered professional learning into our school-based professional learning plans for the 26-27 school year. Today, Centennial High School staff participated in the spring 9th and 10th grade data summit, continuing a series of structured opportunities for teams to review data, reflect on instructional practices, and plan for improvement. This session focused on strengthening proficiency-based practices, with particular attention to how clarity in learning targets, tasks, and grading practices impact student outcomes. Staff engaged in examining learning maps, refining expectations for proficiency, and considering how instructional design influences the level of thinking students are asked to demonstrate. In addition to this instructional focus, teams analyzed current data related to grades, on-track indicators, aligned to the school improvement plan. This analysis supported the development of targeted action steps at the grade level and content area, with an emphasis on improving student access to rigorous, standards-aligned instruction. The day concluded with dedicated time for instructional planning, allowing teams to align next steps to both their data analysis and ongoing professional learning priorities. This week, the district launched the spring cycle of student and staff perception surveys, with administration taking place between April 20th and April 30th. These surveys are designed to gather feedback on student belonging, safety, engagement, and learning, as well as staff experience, and are a key component of the district's ongoing work to strengthen systems of evidence and continuous improvement. Survey results will be used both at the school and district levels to improve planning and will be incorporated into the upcoming data summit work later this spring. Sorry, the graphic. Last week, the district responded to confirmed measles exposures connected to Centennial Middle School and through contact tracing to a single classroom at Meadows Elementary. According to the Multnomah County Health Department, this is the first identified school-based measles exposure in Oregon and required immediate coordination with the Oregon Health Authority, Multnomah County Health Department, and Multnomah Education Service District. In collaboration with public health officials, the district implemented required notification and exclusion protocols while maintaining the confidentiality of individuals involved. Staff identified as having potential exposure were required to provide evidence of immunity, and those unable to do so were excluded from the workplace in accordance with public health guidance. Similar processes were followed for students, with plans developed to support continued access to learning during any exclusion period. As a district, we work closely with Multnomah Education Service District and our school nurses throughout the school year to ensure students meet immunization requirements by the annual exclusion date this year. That was March 4th, 2026. High rates of immunization for the Centennial School District and the specific schools were noted by public health. District communication to staff and families emphasized the importance of reviewing vaccination records, staying up to date on immunizations, and being prepared to provide documentation of immunity if requested. Guidance also included monitoring for symptoms and following public health recommendations to reduce the risk of further spread. To support our community, the district partnered with Multnomah County Health Department to host virtual information sessions for staff and families on Monday evening, and provided an opportunity to share information and respond to questions. The district remains in close coordination with public health partners and will provide updates as needed. Yesterday, we held our annual elementary FTE allocation meeting to review projected enrollment and determine staffing allocations for the upcoming school year. Dr. Katsuda, Director Southerton, Meadows Elementary Principal Lisa Klingen, CEA President Drew Rosa, and incoming CEA Vice President Aaron Blumink and I worked together to determine how teaching positions would be allocated across our elementary schools. Those allocations will be provided to principals in the coming days for sharing with their staff. We plan to work with principals at the secondary level in the next week or so on their respective allocations. As in prior years, this work requires balancing projected enrollment, staffing resources, and system-level priorities to best serve students across the district. We anticipate posting any resulting vacancies in the coming weeks as part of our regular hiring cycle. Work on the 26-27 school calendar is ongoing, with the calendar committee continuing to meet to develop a proposed calendar for board consideration. As part of this work, the committee is exploring potential adjustments to the weekly schedule, including a shift from late start Wednesdays to an early release model. Options under consideration include regular early release time to support educator professional learning, such as shorter weekly early release or a combination of weekly and monthly extended early release days. This exploration is intended to better align with our district strategic plan Roadmap 27 by creating more consistent, protected time for professional learning across the district. The district has also initiated outreach to families through a brief survey to better understand the potential impact of these changes, including considerations related to childcare, transportation, and work schedules. It's important to note that no decisions have been made at this time, and family input will be used alongside staff feedback to inform the committee's work. The committee will continue meeting in the coming weeks with the goal of bringing forward a calendar that balances student learning time, staff professional learning, and the needs of families. Finally, you have likely heard about the recently issued Executive Order 2606 related to preserving student instructional time and the associated temporary rules adopted by the State Board of Education. At a high level, the order prohibits further reductions in instructional time and requires districts that have reduced time in the current or upcoming school year to develop plans to restore that time by the 2027-28 school year. These provisions apply even in cases where districts remain above minimum instructional hour requirements. At this time, we're reviewing the order and related guidance to understand any potential implications for Centennial. Based on our current planning, we do not anticipate a significant impact, as we're not relying on reductions to the school calendar, such as furlough days, to balance the budget. We will continue to monitor additional guidance from the Oregon Department of Education as the rulemaking process moves forward. And with that, I invite any questions or comments you might have, and that concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Superintendent Owens. Let's go through the reverse list of our directors. So we're going to start with you, Director Selesky.
No questions.
Director Newman.
Thanks for the comprehensive presentation. I don't have any questions tonight.
Vice Chair Mooring.
No questions this evening, thank you.
Director Lynn.
Oh, excuse me, one question. On the student survey, is there any portion of that have we added anything in terms of them adding an explanation? Say if they give a very poor score, if they feel safe or anything like that, is there any anywhere where we're asking why?
Dr. Katsuda, can you speak to that, please?
In this round of surveys, we have not adjusted that to add an open-ended question there. No, we haven't. And it's not to say that in the future we wouldn't adjust it. And we have other avenues for us to assess whether or not students, or outreach to students to make sure that if they have some concerns or some issues that they'd like to express to get support, then they can do that.
Any follow-up, Director Lynn?
No, thank you.
Director Harden?
Yeah, thanks for the report. Great job, lots of content there. My question is in regards to the measles exposure. What was the impact on attendance of our students and staff? and hasn't rebounded since over this week versus last week?
Yeah, good question. We'll turn that to Dr. Katsuda and Director Wright. I would say on the staff piece, we were pretty concerned at first because I don't know about you, but finding your immunization record, even if you've been immunized, you had to prove that you had been, and finding those records isn't easy. And the initial conversation we had with public health was around 3 or 4 p.m. on Monday afternoon of that week. And they wanted that turned around by the next morning. And that was just simply unfeasible to operate school effectively. And so fortunately, they were able to give us a couple days of grace on that aspect of it. And so from that point, Dr. Katsuda was tracking with Principal Allie Marks, who had not provided at that point, and what the sub situation needed to look like. Long story short, there was some impact, but we were still able to operate school, and Dr. Katsuda was able to provide me with a daily rundown of staff attendance to just provide assurance that we were covered. Dr. Katsuda, if you could expand on that is relevant, and then Director Wright, if you can speak to student attendance, that would be helpful.
Overall, after the initial contact with the district, we had about 20 staff who couldn't prove immunity. They overall, with a very few exceptions, were really diligent and reached out to a variety of sources to confirm immunity, either through titer testing, or they continued to seek their medical records to be able to prove that. That number dwindled pretty quickly. Within a few school days, it was down to about 5, and then 1, and that's across classified and licensed staff. And the district also made efforts to do, Denise helped coordinate efforts with a pop-up titer testing clinic so that folks could get that done. But by the time we had that up, which wasn't actually that long from the moment we were informed of this issue, we only had a couple staff needing it. And in the end, we only had 1 staff needing that testing. So it happened pretty quickly, and the staff responded pretty quickly. And we were able to fill most all positions with subs, and then we got a couple of floater subs to make sure that short staffing didn't put extra additional pressure on the school, which can happen in these cases. So I think thanks to the swift thinking and diligence and persistence of the principal, who really supported us in all the detailed tracking, we were able to respond pretty quickly.
And due to the high rates of immunization and vaccination at Centennial Middle School, there was a very, very small number of students that had to be excluded. And so it did not impact overall attendance at either of the schools. It was really to a really, really small group of less than 40 students at Centennial Middle School and 3 students at Meadows.
Great. Thank you for the information. Appreciate you guys following.
Chair Shields.
I'm sorry, can I just follow? I'm sorry,
sure.
a quick follow-up.
Yeah.
Just on that, of those employees, were there any discovered that were either supposed to be vaccinated or said that they were vaccinated and then yet couldn't prove it?
No, I think the staff self-reported pretty accurately. I think, as is the case with many of us who were vaccinated decades ago, when you feel like you're immune and you can't find your records and you go get the titer test, you might find that you're not as immune as you thought. And I think there were just a couple cases like that. But again, the staff were really diligent, and as soon as they had that information, they acted on it.
And are we implementing anything at the remaining schools if and when the cases might pop up there, that we already do have those records ready to turn over to the public health department?
So that is a really great question, because we've done some work to try to be more preventative or ready in the case that it happens again. We were informed by the public health department that they couldn't do the level of screening with the hundreds of employees that we have, like sort of pre-screening to determine who might have records of immunity, and that they would coordinate with us pretty quickly if it came up again in any of our schools. And we have all of the records, and the great thing, unfortunate thing is it happened, but the good thing is we've kind of develop some systems so that if it ever did occur again, we'd be able to respond even more efficiently or quickly. So
we've also sent information out to our staff to get their documentation ready in case this happens, because in this case, people were flat-footed. They didn't have their documentation. They didn't know to do that. So we've sent information about that. And I know that principals are reinforcing that message so that if there is an exposure at their schools, they are prepared to be able to show the documentation. We're not proactively collecting that documentation, but it is something that we're asking that if there's another instance that happened. Director Wright, did you have anything to add to this? Okay.
I was going to say the exact same thing. So there's several ways that staff can prove immunity. And so to Superintendent Owen's point, it can either be through your actual immunization records, it can be through the titer testing. And one thing, this is where our partnership with public health is really beneficial, is that Dr. Katsuda was able to provide a spreadsheet of staff. They were simultaneously looking specifically. So we had multiple entry points where we had staff who weren't able to find that information, and yet public health was able to find that. So it comes at several different points. And again, we're reinforcing to everyone, find your documentation and or get the titer test. And those are the ways, as well as if you're not exposed right now, you can also get your first dose of a measles shot as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. There were a lot of questions around this whole process, right? And being the first school that's had this happen, are people looking at us in terms of a reach out to see how well you've done in case it's coming their way, or they're just going to be reactive like we had to be reactive?
No, they don't want to look at me or talk to me about it. I was at a superintendent's meeting statewide on Friday of last week, and they just want to bury their head and pretend it like it might not happen. I'm kind of joking, but no, nobody's asked about it, which is kind of funny.
Chief Officer Christine?
I will say in communications world, that works very different. I've had several conversations with other districts, including reach outs around how we handled communications and notifications and how we did with our media response. So I think in some positions there is an interest, probably maybe not at the higher district levels, but there's, always some silver lining to being first, is being able to help others with lessons learned.
Thank you, appreciate that. And one question, Superintendent Owens, the school, or maybe also others, the school calendar, what is if I missed it, I apologize. What's the timeline for having that published for our district and our families?
As far as having the calendar available?
Yeah.
There's not a hard and fast, we don't have like a in the policy deadline for having that, but that people want to be able to plan off of that. So our plan, and Dr. Katsuda, if you have anything to expand on this, our plan is to bring it to the first meeting in May for the board's review for first read and hopefully an approval if it meets your satisfaction. Dr. Katsuda, anything to add to that? Okay.
Okay, thank you. So that's all of the questions, I believe, and it did, unless it sparked another question. Anybody? Okay, good. And back to the agenda items. May I have a motion to approve confirmation items as presented?
So moved.
Can I have a question on the confirmation item?
Yes.
Just on the soccer trip, I was looking at it and I'm not seeing any kind of budget or kind of breakdown on the fundraising or funding out portion. Did I miss that, or?
Principal Miller, are you able to speak to that?
Yeah, they are doing fundraising, or they're planning to do fundraising as part of it. I thought that was actually attached. I'll look at it.
I saw that mentioned. I just don't see any breakdown or any kind of budget quantification of just how much this trip costs.
I'll look into it and I can get back to you.
Awesome. And just the comment, it'd be great on these forms if we could just have those questions kind of already answered. Of course, with the awareness that, not every, number can be dialed down, but it'd be great to have those so that we can compare them when they come before us.
Thank you, Director Lynn. Then that's a good point. We're really looking at the field trips and other trip policy is one of the superintendent committees, and we're trying to figure out all of those types of questions that need to be, that are asked to be answered within the documentation. So that's a good thing to double check on for us in that committee. But does that we have a motion to approve? Do we have and you want to be the second, Director Lynn?
I believe Director Slawski was.
Oh, all right. I have a motion and a second. Do I have, Missy, am I good with the motion and a second? Or I am.
I have that Director Solowski move to approve confirmation items. I do not have a second at this point that I may
Yeah,
have.
I'll second that.
All right.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the list of confirmation items as presented with an additional question related to that Principal Mann will be getting back with us about. All those in favor, raise your hand and indicate by saying aye.
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 Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Director Mooring has to step aside for a moment, so we'll not record him in that particular vote. All right, we are now at board action items, old business. 7.1.1 board calendaring discussion and the board retreat. I'm going to impose upon both Superintendent Owens and our executive assistant, Missy Grindall, to help us with reminding us the kinds of things that we need to know to be able to schedule or have a calendaring discussion and the board retreat discussion. See how I just passed that on to you too?
I'll let Executive Assistant Grindle start.
There you go.
Thank you, Superintendent Owens. I appreciate that. So this topic in particular, we are trying to, and thank goodness for Chair Shields, to try to get some things on the calendar as we move forward into the summer months, because we do get very busy. And so this topic came up in regards to having a conversation around when a board retreat could be scheduled for the summer. We only have a few more meetings left, as many of us know, and we do have a meeting in July. And other than that, then we'll start into the new school year in the fall. Last year, we did a retreat. I believe it was the first week in August. We had a full, about 6-hour retreat during the day. And so this is really just on the agenda to open up the conversation to see if and when we want to go ahead and schedule that retreat. Is that helpful, Chair Shields?
Yes. It's also a requirement that we must have a meeting in July, period, end of quote. What also our interest would be is that, just as you were mentioning about people want to having their calendars as early as possible, if there's already time within your summer months, especially July and August, that you absolutely know that are a no-go because you already have plans, we really are going to need to discover what those are. And so we probably will be doing some kind of a polling or at least an email out to you to say, hey, if you've got dates that you already know that don't even ask, that might be a place for us to start, and then getting information back out to saying these are the potential times, because we are aware that hey, our lives are very much scheduled by activities. Our summer is short, and so we often have things that we've already figured into the schedule. Any comments though right now from board directors, and this is a free-for-all, please, about your summer schedule or what you could take into consideration? Don't all speak at once. There, Director Hardin.
Personally, I will be out of the country from, I believe it's July 14th, 15th, until, yes, July 14th until August. I think I come back on the 9th or 10th.
Well,
we'll be through the 8th. It's like 3 weeks that we're going to be out of the country.
Nice.
And I will be pretty useless.
That's helpful. I mean, if you already know, and directors, if you do already know and you'd like to share that with us right now, that starts to narrow it down for us right away.
Also in July, I think just before Director Harden, I'll be unavailable about July 7th through the 13th, which is it's like a Wednesday through a Monday.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Others looking at their calendar, knowing July and August or the dates that, and there's nothing, well, no, maybe I'm going to make a statement, and Missy, you might need to correct me on this. I know we're required to have a meeting in July, period, end of quote. But can we combine the July meeting with the board retreat? Can we have just one meeting for the July, August?
You can, yeah, absolutely. You do need to have a meeting in July because that determines all of the business of the district and how things are managed. So banking, attorneys, how we do our business as a district. We need to set that and establish that in July. So yeah, that's the importance of that July meeting. Plus, there also is board leadership is determined in July as well for the year. So there's some big things that happen in July. And if we do continue with our cadence of scheduling, if we do it on a Wednesday, the second Wednesday of the month, that would be July 8th. That's where that would fall if that's what the board determines. They would like to have their meetings. So.
All right, anybody else would like to give some input about, no, don't do that because I won't be here? Obviously, we need a quorum. It's always best when we can all be available, and we want to strive for that. And just looking at Director Harden's situation and Director Newman, we're looking at that first week of July. So we'll play with those dates, but if you maybe do it this way, now that you kind of know what we're looking at, we could be, hey, that's my birthday. We could be looking at the very first meeting on July 1st. But then again, we know we get, something going on with the 4th of July. Yeah, but we do not have to have it on a Wednesday. That isn't necessary. We can do it on a different date if need be. So frankly, with Director Harden and Director Newman's input, which thank you so much, we would be looking at anything July 1st, 2nd, 3rd. That gets you right close to the 4th of July, but maybe coming back on the 6th. I don't know. Well, I think, Missy, that's enough to at least start pulling people on. And if we can get a minimum of a quorum, but like I said, I don't want a minimum of a quorum. I want us all to be there. We have always important stuff to talk about, and it's important for all of us to be involved. So let's work on that. As Director Harden's
Can I make a recommendation?
Yes.
As well, that it's not the Friday or the Monday around the 4th of July.
So that would get us on the 1st or the 2nd.
Or the 7th or the 8th, right?
7th, Director Newman's gone.
Oh, that's when you leave. Okay.
Yeah. So then I mean, it's good. We can start to narrow it down. So 1st or the 2nd. It's 1st or 2nd because 4th of July is on a Saturday this year. But does that mean people take Mondays as the date if you're on a regular calendar situation? I mean, our schools' calendars are different than the kind of the real world. Like, would banks be closed on the 6th, or are they going to be closed on the 3rd? I honestly don't know the answer to the question. So we'll have to look at that as well. Okay, Missy, we've got work
I don't know either,
do.
but that's what I suggested. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you. And if we can get everybody there, we'd be doing great. All right. Updates from the superintendent committee. And I don't have my list. I should have done a better job. I don't have my list in front of me at this point in time. I can tell you about our policy in relation to the field trip excursions. We have been working with Missy. She has been collecting. The biggest thing is our collection of data. And so if we're getting pretty close, if not guiding all of that, then we'll be scheduling a meeting to review. Because as you know, our goal is to have a policy that is useful across the district, and then the forms, even though, and like Director Lynn mentioned, could we have a form that everyone would be filling out as it relates to field trips that are out of state or out of the area, so that we can look at costing. We want to look at what the best practices have been, pull it together, put it on the intranet, so that we don't have silos, especially in our elementary schools, because they have individual ways of doing things. So it's a goal of ours to get there. It would be great if we could get it done and in front of you, so that it would be something that could be applied to the new year. So I'll just say that from the committee that I'm supposed to be facilitating. Others, in terms of facilitators and updates from your groups, we do have a presentation tonight from the board operations group, so we don't need a report on them because we're going to see it.
Chair Shields.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe on the board stipend policy. Please, Superintendent Owens, correct me if I'm wrong, but we should have all the questions answered and have that ready next month.
Yeah, I've been working with Missy on working with OSBA to get a sample resolution that would be accompanying the policy, and then the mechanics around how that would work for the board's consideration. And then Vice Chair Mooring had brought in a concept as far as how the stipend would potentially work if a board member was brought on board through an appointment midstream, and what that would look like. So that's potential language for the draft policy for the board to consider, but our hope is to get that at the first May meeting, to your question or point, Director Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other review committees?
I believe we're trying to get something on the books for all of us. So that's, what policy is that? Oh, budget committee policy will be.
Budget committee?
Yeah.
Excellent. Any others? We're good? All right, then thank you. What I hear is that everyone's working on it and trying to get it done, and that's what we want. It's excellent to hear that we're getting some things accomplished in that area. So we'll be on to new business, which is the first read of policy BK, evaluation of board operational procedures. And from that committee, is that Director Newman who's taking that one on? Honestly, I know.
I do believe Director Newman stepped in for Director Stanley on that.
That's what I thought. All right. So Director Newman, are you back at your computer? He might have had to take a moment away. Anybody? Hi, I can see. There you are. So Director Newman, we're looking for just some information about the policy that your group has presented tonight as a first read.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had to unplug my computer from all the things for a moment here. So let me go ahead and share the policy as we have in here. To cue it up a little bit, Vice Chair Mooring, Director Stanley, and I and Missy met to look at the policy. The policy was really quite old. I don't remember the exact date of adoption, but like 10 years at least. And OSBA had actually put together a recommended policy since then that is newer and shorter. And so we talked quite a bit. Sorry, I should stop trying to multitask. I just said this in a meeting at work today too. Multitasking doesn't often go very well. Do you all see?
Yes.
This? And I think it's doubling our view too. Here, let's go ahead. So we're looking at a pretty dramatic simplification of the board. It's basically policy BK is board self-evaluation or board evaluation. We don't think it's really been happening, even though it was in our policy to be evaluating ourselves annually. And we talked about a couple of different levels of way evaluations could be done. One is the board and the director cabinet can do a self-evaluation. That's sort of like level one, high level, or not high level, but lower effort, I guess. A second level would be board and the cabinet, and then also school, getting input from the schools about board performance. And then finally a 360, we're calling a 360 evaluation, which would involve community members too. As you might guess, that we would be looking at outsourcing for help for some of the more extensive evaluations, and that would have a higher cost. So what we were recommending or coming to a recommendation is that as a board, we start at kind of the self-evaluation, but plan on expanding and doing like a phase one self-evaluation, maybe next year, expanding the evaluation more, and then looking at doing a 360 at least at some frequency every few years. However, what we're reflecting in the policy is something very simple. You see the old version or the version of the policy with the crossed out what we're looking at striking, and something very simple here. The board will plan an annual evaluation of its function as a board. This evaluation may be broadly based on relationships and activities, or may focus on a particular area or activity, and the board may hire a consultant to assist with the evaluation, and really kind of keeping it simple there, which opens up our options to conduct evaluations in different ways over different years. Director Mooring or Ms. Grindle, do you have anything to add? And then I do know Rose has your hand up.
No, I don't have anything to add. Thank you, Director Newman. That was a very concise summary of our policy, our committee's work. And we just adding on, we intentionally kept things vague on the policy itself because there could be future boards, thinking of future boards who may want to conduct evaluations in different ways versus locking people into a specific set that may not make sense in 13 years when this one was last revised or first created in 1985. So just preserving flexibility in that regard on that.
All right. Director Solosky, you had your hand up first if you want to speak.
Yeah, I have a couple questions, and really getting into understanding the intention of behind why we want to be reviewing our participation. I think that like the whole board doesn't see the amount of work that goes into the superintendent evaluation that happens. But this, would it be happening at the same time? And who, like, okay. What would we do with this information? What measured difference would you expect from the board as an elected person based on this information? And then what is the cost? I think that I understand that it's important for us to evaluate ourselves, and the way that that I had done it for the past several years was in our retreats, really making it a pointed, having a conversation about what's working, what's not working, but asking folks to do a lot of work, it makes me nervous for what are we even going to do with that, right? Are we going to pat ourselves on the back with it? Are we going to share it with the community? I am really about, like, before I take on extra work, I really have to understand the intention. And I'm just going to leave it there for right now.
That's a good question. Sorry, I'm trying to pull together my my thoughts in response. Okay, so your first question.
And you don't have to respond to everything now. I can just be opening up questions to think about.
Yeah, no, I think it is a good question though I think some of the things that we're talking, we have some guidance. There was some guidance that was presented during our committee meeting. That could go really detailed, and we could have a lot of standards that we look at about how some of it could be as simple as, it might be looking at like, how are we engaging with the community, or how are how well do we as board members know the strategic plan? Can we recite the strategic plan? And then we would take this, please keep me honest here, Vice Chair Mooring. We would take this information and we could use it as part of setting some of our goals for the course of the year or the next year. I guess it would depend on when we do it. We didn't really discuss too much about when in the year this evaluation would occur.
Yeah, to add to that, if I could really quick, Director Slawski, we would be for the initial evaluation, we would be contracting out to OSBA, who already has a well-established process and procedure for this. The cost, I think, is only $950, so very minimal, considering the kind of financial and fiduciary responsibilities that we have. And in that, there are literally dozens of points to reflect on. And OSBA would kind of guide us to say, well, what are the areas where we want to improve? They would ask us, what are our objectives with the self-evaluation, which is right accountability to the community, accountability to ourselves, trust, cohesion, governance, quality, all those things together. And then from there, and as Director Newman said, this would be a more formalized process that we are proposing to go down with this particular group of board members. And we see that, yes, it will require us to put in a little bit of work. We don't see that work as being cumbersome. And then timing wise, yes, we hadn't figured out since we don't have a new policy to act on yet. So that's kind of where we're at on that. But we wanted to make sure we brought it to all of you for this first read to get those things so that we can go back and refine it for our next go round.
I think Director Newman mentioned something that kind of like was my fear, was then like, well, yes, we would use this to set goals. And like, I mean, I don't know if we need goals outside of everything that we're already doing, trying to lead our school district. But I'm open to more conversations about that. I think that the other piece is that a lot of boards don't have the operational agreements that we have between ourselves and the superintendent. And so I would want to make sure that like part of this holding ourselves to a high standard was why we created those board operational agreements. And so I would encourage us to try to align them some way if that's what we're doing. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Director Hardin's next.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same questions as Rose. That's the same feedback I would give. Timeline would be good. Like, who is going to decide it and when? Like, when does the rubber meet the road? I think maybe I see this wrong, but I see policies as a little bit of a SOP or standard operating procedure style. And this just feels a little too vague, to be quite honest. I don't know the goal. I don't know the timeline. I don't know who's making the decisions. Are we working together? All I see is we're going to do an annual evaluation, or we're going to plan to do an annual evaluation. We're not even going to have it. We're just going to plan it. And then if we need to hire a consultant, we will, which people in the community love it when we hire consultants. Love it. And so, kind of piggyback on what Director Slawski was saying, let's have intent with it, with what we're trying to do. Let's not do it because the policy says we need to do it. We've never done it. Let's have some intention on what we're trying to do.
Sorry.
I was just saying, I appreciate both of your feedback. I do think it's worth pointing out that we do currently have a policy about evaluation that we are not complying with. That is more prescriptive, but also I don't think is necessarily any really that much less vague, especially with regards to your concerns. I think maybe a little direction from you if you would prefer us to go back to this before we bring this to a vote. Is kind of the impression that I'm getting from you. And Chair Shields seem to be nodding in agreement.
Oh yeah.
Let me jump in really quick there, Chair Shields. If we look at the last line that struck through on the old policy, the evaluation be at least once a year. At the conclusion of the process, the board will formulate objectives for the ensuing year. So if we did this exercise this past summer, I have to be honest, I'm not sure what our objectives for this coming year were. And that's not this is open dialogue, not this or did not happen, or which way it did happen or not happen. It's, were we even looking at the policy that we've had on the books? Were we adhering to that? Why or why not? And it just seemed like we weren't quite getting there with such specifics. And so this was kind of resetting what the evaluation is and going from there.
Director Lynn, do you have any questions before I get in there?
No, I would just say I certainly don't want to do anything that wastes anybody's time. And just to point out one of the lines crossed out, the primary purpose of this is to improve board leadership.
Yeah, and I don't know what that means, right? Because is that board lead? We've been using board leadership as kind of the chair and the vice chair, or leadership in the district, and in the more broadest of its terms. That would need a little clarifying, I think, to that sentence. So, committee members, the highlighted area, is that the new language from OSBA?
Nearly word for word.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's helpful to know. I really think that with Director Harden and Director Slowski's information too, how we might incorporate our own procedures as it relates to the operational agreements. I don't know if we reference them back to this, but I think that would be important, a sentence or two, because frankly, that does kind of evaluate how we're doing, at least in terms of communication and the work that we do. I'm curious about, do we have objectives that are outside of what the work that has to be done, and as it relates to what we do with the district, with strategic planning or long-term facilities planning? This board seems to be quite busy with a lot of different things, so that would be my question. And then and I'm a punctuation geek, so poor Missy knows this about me. The sentence, first paragraph, second sentence, this evaluation may be broadly based on relationships and activities. So the way it's worded, it's relationships and activities. The operational agreements that we have have both those things as well. That should be separated with commas in some form or fashion, because relationships and activities are not necessarily hand in glove. They can be two separate things that can be evaluated. So based on relationships, activities, or may focus on a particular activity or area. That would be, that's just a grammar kind of thing that I would go with. But I do want to support the others in our commitment to our operational agreements to somehow put that in the procedure of evaluation if we're going to move forward with this. But I certainly have appreciated the discussion tonight. This is good. I really appreciate the discussion. And it punctuates why we're going to need first reads. Because you two have been working on it hard with Missy's help. Now we get to have an opportunity to think about it, and maybe even offer suggestions now that we see it, so that you have something to chew on, if that's a real technical term.
Absolutely. That was always the spirit of the process, right?
Yeah.
Bring it to everybody, give feedback, refine where needed, and then come forward again.
Perfect. So is there anything else that anybody else would like to give feedback to the group and play with a little bit? I mean, I would love to look at the operational agreement language that we already have and see what we could do about putting it in here. At least it ties us back to that circle, because that might be just enough of an evaluation for us any given year, especially in years where we have that planning that is happening, or other types of things like long-term facility planning. That board, whoever's managing their time at that time, can say, that's an evaluation of and to itself, how we involve ourselves with that. So appreciate you guys bringing it forward, working on it.
I do have one, if
Yes.
before we move off of this,
Yes.
to Director Lynn's comment. I'm curious, what would you find, Director Lynn, to not be a waste of your time in a self-evaluation?
I can look into that and send you guys some comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, that, I believe that's the feedback. So you're going to take that back and work with that a little bit. So let's move on to future agenda items. And before I turn this over to Superintendent Owens, I was looking at my calendar, and we have the April 29th. We have board coffees. Missy, have you heard from everybody, or do we need to poke people on something like that?
Yeah, let me take a look. See, and just to confirm, it looks like in the morning, if I may, we've got Vice Chair Mooring, Director Hardin, and Chair Shields, if you're able to join.
Okay.
And then in the afternoon, we have Director Stanley, Director Newman. So I do not have Director Lynn.
Okay.
I think, and Director Solowski. So
all
can
right.
you do the mornings or the afternoon?
What time is the afternoon session?
It is from 4 to 5:30 on Wednesday, the 29th.
I can do that one.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and include a calendar invite to you right now.
Thank you.
That's April 29th.
Yes, Wednesday, April 29th. So just maybe a refresher for all of us on that one, if need be, just because it's, things that get scheduled so far in advance. Sometimes there's like, well, did I even respond to that yet? So
and I was like, didn't we just do board
Did we just
coffees?
do it?
There's another one already? Okay, that's cool.
So okay, that's good. And then one more thing before I turn it over to Superintendent Owens. Missy, thank you so much for your leadership. I mean, oh my gosh, how many times have we said, well, let me see, let's check with Missy, because she knows all, or knows who to go to get information for us, and or just steps up and says, yeah, that's something I can do. And gosh, it's so important to have an executive assistant like yourself. And just, I know it was in Superintendent Owen's report, but we didn't have a chance to just say, hey, thank you for all that you do for us.
Very nice. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. It's such a joy to work with you guys.
I would love to piggyback and just say you have raised the level of professionalism in this board since you've been here. And it's like, you've been such a welcome addition. And you have ingratiated yourself into this team. And now I don't know what we'd do without you.
Oh, thank you. I'm the honored one to be able to work with you all. So I'm very fortunate, grateful. So thank you.
We were glad you took us on. Board, I can't even imagine being a board, administrative assistant. This is a lot of work. Herding cats. All right, Superintendent Owens. We don't have a Superintendent Appreciation Day, do we? Darn. We're going to have to put something in.
Every day is Superintendent Appreciation Day.
There you go. Buckle up, it's May, so we've got quite a bit here on the docket. Recognition of CHS Club Awards. We had that, Principal Miller moved that to May just because athletics was so substantial. Triple C recognition is on deck. Hopefully that'll be ready for the first May meeting. It is Asian American and Pacific Islander Month, and so there will be a proclamation for the board to recognize that. Patrick Lynch Elementary School will be representing with a report, as well as a PBOT Safe Routes to School report with Ian Reese, our Safe Routes to School coordinator. Our non-union and administrator agreements will be ready by then, or should be. Our school calendar for 26-27 will hopefully be there. We have board and budget meeting calendars that will hopefully accompany those as well. A social science adoption that Director Olson is working on, and maybe a policy or two, including the board member compensation and expense reimbursement that Director Lynn spoke to earlier. And we also have the topic that moved tonight, the board meeting scheduled day of the week. So a lot on deck in May.
Excellent. Board directors. By the way, I really appreciate us sharing and reading in the proclamations. I love hearing your voices and your, just that input for those proclamations. I think that's really important to hear all of us affirm these things. Questions or good of the order before we adjourn, directors? Newman says no. Solesky says no. Hardin, you're good. Lynn, you're good. Maureen is good. All right. I think we are ready. Anything else for the good of the order, Superintendent Owens? We're good.
At board coffees, I can report on how disc golf goes with Director Lynn tomorrow.
Pictures or it didn't happen.
That's good too. Appreciate you guys. This is it's always good to have an opportunity to get together and the discussion on this policy, this first policy. Lets us know that there's other policy committees, lets us know what we're going to be maybe get ready for. So not challenging. It wasn't, I don't think it were challenging. We're clarifying, and I really appreciate the thought process that's gone into this. And Director Hardin, great budget meeting today. Appreciate your leadership there. You are so clear with us and our budget committee members. That's really appreciated too. All right, guys, let's see, what time is it? It's 9:11, so we adjourn this meeting at 9:11 p.m.